All right, 6 o'clock. Call the May 1st Board of Education regular scheduled meeting to order. We do have a quorum with 6 present in the room, and we have a 7th member, I believe, joining us virtually. Dr. Frederick, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I apologize for back-to-back illness weeks. Last week it was the kids, this week it's us. So
Okay,
I
thank you.
apologize.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Dr. Lindsay if she will do our invocation for us today.
Let us pray. O Lord, our Lord, the sweetest name that I know, who gives us strength when we are weak, when we are lost, He gives us direction. O Lord, you promise to never leave us. So be with us tonight as we go out this business, try to make good decisions for the kids here in Granville County, with sincere hope that we'll make Granville County a better place for kids and families as well. Go with us and stand by us. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'd like to ask Board Member Hayes if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Superintendent, do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No changes this evening, Madam Chairwoman.
Anyone else? Okay. Next, we come to our favorite part, special recognitions and presentations. Turn that over to Dr. Winborn.
Fantastic. This is our favorite part of the evening. Dr. Winborn, let's take it away. I believe we are going to begin with our athletic director.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, Vice Chair, members of the board, and Superintendent. It's a pleasure to see you all here tonight. First, I would like to recognize Mr. Mike Carroll, our District Athletic Director. Mike, if you would please come to the podium, sir. I'm very proud to announce that Mike has recently been recognized by the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association as a certified athletic administrator. And to earn this distinction, Mike demonstrated the highest level of knowledge and expertise in the field of interscholastic athletic administration. This voluntary certification process included a thorough evaluation of the candidate's educational background, his experience, professional contributions, as well as a rigorous and comprehensive written examination. So Mike now stands as one of an elite group of interscholastic athletic administrators nationwide to attain this level of professionalism. So Mike, congratulations. We are very proud of you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
We thank you for all you do for those boys and girls out there you work with.
Congratulations, Coach Carroll.
All right. Next, we have a parent we're going to recognize.
Yes.
Would Miss April Schaefer please approach the podium? Good evening. So congratulations and appreciation goes out to you, April. A parent and athletic booster from South Granville High School for securing nearly $10,000 in grant funds to support the athletic program for the Vikings. It's my understanding that this money went to a much-needed piece of lawn equipment to maintain the ball fields at South Granville High School. So we thank you, Ms. Schaefer, not just for your efforts in securing this grant, but your unwavering support over time for our schools. All of them that your children have come up through. We really appreciate all that you do for us. And you make a difference. So thank you.
Dr. Winborn? Dr. Winborn?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
if
you,
I could
Mr.
just
Granville.
insert that Ms. Schaefer is on the Facilities Modification Committee as a
Yes.
community representative, and she's a pleasure to work with. Her passion for all athletics, but specifically to support South Granville, is admirable. And congratulations, April. It's a good job. So, thank you.
And I'm going to ask Ms. Schaefer if you will just stay for a minute, okay? Just
Yes.
Stay for a minute.
Yes, let's
I've also had
We
the,
got some more comments.
I've had the privilege to serve on the Granville Greenways Parks and Recreation Committee for the county with Ms. Schaefer, and she's like a breath of fresh air in spring when she comes in the room. She always has good ideas, and she's looking out for kids and adults throughout the county and opportunities for recreation. So I enjoy working with you with that. Thank you, April.
And while we love her work with softball, girls softball, it is always a delight to work with Ms. Schaefer as a mom, no matter where she serves, because she works on behalf of all children. And she does it year after year. So this is just honoring you this year, but we appreciate your sacrifice and your willingness to serve all children all the time. Thank you so very much for being who you are. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you so very much, sweetie.
April. Hold on. And I've also had the pleasure of serving with April on several PTOs. Most recently this year, she serves as the president of the Holly PTO.
Yes.
And guys, she doesn't even have a kid at that school.
Yeah.
So that is how much that she does for our school system and our community, and we love her so much.
That's great.
Okay, we might let you
Well,
go
no,
in just a
actually,
few minutes.
Actually, as a point of privilege, I'm going to ask if she would please remain standing
That'd be
just to be
great.
close by for this next recognition,
That would be
who
awesome.
happens to be her daughter.
That would be great.
So, you can stay here, don't go far. All right. Miss Abigail Schaefer, will you please come to the podium with your principal,
Yes.
Ms. Jackie Harris, and Ms. Cooper, her
Yes.
math teacher. So, congratulations to Ms. Abigail Schaefer, a sophomore at Granville Early College, for winning the honor for her grand champion feeder steer, which is pictured up there on the screen. This beautiful, magnificent animal. And this was at the Central Piedmont Junior Livestock Show held on Tuesday, April the 11th. And Abigail won top honors with her steer representing Granville County 4-H.
Yes.
I've also recently learned that she is a national finalist in riflery and will be
Yes.
going to Nebraska to represent Granville County in those skills, going up against all different types of marksmen from around the country. So she is truly skilled. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Harris, who I think her and Ms. Cooper might have a few remarks as well.
Talk about how awful she is. I want to start out by saying that she is a well-rounded student who is a good manager of her time. She participates with a variety of animals in 4-H. She's participated since she was age 5, so it's about 11 years now. She has chickens for about 11 years, and she's part of the 4-county pullet chain. She has turkeys that have placed first, second, and 2 fourth position places at state level. And of course, this beautiful cow that's here is just awesome, and she has placed 2 years with that. Dr. Winborn stole my thunder because I was going to tell y'all you need to watch out because this girl can handle a .22 rifle. She will be competing nationally in Nebraska this summer. In addition to all of this, she participates in volleyball and softball and maintains a 4.5 GPA.
Wonderful. Good job.
Well, she told me I was late, so I'm not so sure if I can keep this as nice as I was going to keep it. But now that I know you're going to be shooting somebody, I guess I'll just stick to the script. So, Abby, you are an absolute joy to teach. I have been fortunate enough to teach her for the past 2 years. I'm considering giving her an F so I can have her 1 more year. Is that okay? Okay. There are so many things I'm sure that I can say about her. But the one thing that I want to brag on Abby for is her willingness to help others. At the beginning of the school year, I pulled her aside and I asked her if she would be willing to help another student who was really struggling with the math. And she was like, sure, I'll do this. So I partnered her up with the student, and she was awesome because she wasn't worried about getting ahead with her work. She was very good about stopping and checking on his status and making sure that he was doing well and answering all of his questions. And I really think that helped him a lot because he became more comfortable asking questions at that point. She was also willing to give up her free period where most kids go relax or do their homework. Miss Abby here would stay and help this young man on occasion and make sure that he didn't have any questions and helped him with his homework. So hats off to you. You are awesome. And are you sure? I can't hear you now. And one more thing I'm going to make light on is recently our student council had an Easter egg hunt. And we were allowed to kind of take some eggs and put them in our classroom. And they may have had extra credit or something of that nature. And she actually found one of the eggs. So I was going around the room and I was like, okay, what did you get? She said, can I give my points to him? I said, yes, ma'am, you can. And I just walked away and I just wanted to hug her because that was so sweet because he needed that. We all need you. So you're awesome and thank you for being that way. But we can't probably say enough, but just don't shoot me tomorrow.
Amazing. Amazing. You know, we can't say enough good things about incredible students, but when they do rise to the top like this, Abigail, you know, I said enough Friday night. I had the opportunity to spend just a few minutes with Abigail and a few of her softball friends, and I just want to say it again. I think you're wonderful, and thank you for doing amazing things here. Just know we want you to go off and do some incredible things this summer and bring home the win. We can't wait to celebrate with you, young lady. So keep us posted. But you know the fruit doesn't fall too far from the tree. So will Abigail's family please stand? I know we met Mom. Is anyone else here? Of course Dad is here. And our sweet little Lily is here. So keep up the good work. We're so proud of you, sweetie. Proud of you. Good job. Makes us happy. Next, we have greatness with our CTE recognitions. Is that right, Dr. Winborn?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to ask Ms. Angela Salisbury. She is the Director of Secondary Schools and Career and Technical Education Programs, who's going to lead us off in our recognitions for this category.
This is amazing. You know, academics is where we do a lot of the learning, and CTE is where we make a lot of applications occur. So this is exciting.
Yes,
so Ms.
ma'am.
Salisbury.
Good evening, everyone. I am pleased this evening to bring to you almost 25 students who have competed outside of Granville County Public Schools and represented us so well. The first student competed in Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America Regional Fall Leadership Conference in Sanford, North Carolina. He placed third place in event management. Thomas Julian?
Is Thomas here tonight? Okay.
Right.
We'll get that to him.
This next group of students started their journey in November with Virtual Enterprise International. They had to compete at the state level, and only the top 4 teams could move on to the Southern Region Convention and Competition in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in February. And we were able to send 3 teams to Fort Lauderdale, one from each of our high schools. One of those teams from South Granville High School placed second place in the Southern region of the United States in the business plan competition. If these students and their teacher will come forward. Justin Womack. Yeah, you take those, sorry. Wyatt Ellis, Austin Kirksey, Zach Hoffman, Devin Autry Elam, and Justin Jackson.
If you are here, students, would you come forward? Is anyone in the lobby unable to make through?
All right. We'll give them a round of applause. We're really proud of them.
At the same Southern Region competition, all of our students put together their sales booth. And it was a big sales show, and there were secret judges going around. And our team from Granville Central High School, More There Styles, placed third place in the sales pitch competition. Those students are Anna Hurako Macias, Jasmine Rodriguez, Kamari Dunstan, Isaiah Malik, and Alexis Walters. Their teacher is Miss Audrey Brown.
And Miss Audrey Brown is our
She is our
CTE.
Granville County CTE Teacher of the Year.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
From Florida, our students earned the opportunity to travel to New York City. And in New York City, they participated in the International Virtual Enterprise Youth Business Summit. We sent 25 students just after spring break to New York City, and 10 of those students competed in something called the Global Innovative Challenge. Those students individually were placed on separate teams of 8 with students from all around the world. And the top 6 teams then presented their challenge in front of the whole group the following day. One of our students was on the first place team, Miss Chloe Hernandez. And her teacher is Miss Marcy Winborn.
That is incredible.
During spring break, we also sent students to Atlanta, Georgia to compete in the National Society of Minorities in Agricultural and Natural Resources and Related Sciences with their teacher, Mr. William Taylor. Those students competed and placed at this national competition. Aliyah Dixon, Angel Lina Lopez, Denise Morega Martinez, Anna Haraco Macias, and Savannah Watson. Those students participated in written essay and impromptu speaking, so congratulations to them. Finally, from South Granville High School, students participated in Federation, which is the event before regionals in the state. Sam Fuller, Kimberly Serrano Garduno, Desi Carpenter, Joshua Polinsky, their teachers are Heather Wade and Samantha Stewart. And in the Central Piedmont Livestock Show, placing for their market lamb showmanship were Chelsea Carroll and Maddie Tyrrell. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. Thank you so much. We are so excited to give students the opportunity to travel, see the United States, and represent us so well. Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations to each of you, and thank you for representing Granville County Public Schools so well.
Next, we will have our superintendent's report. Dr. McLean.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Vice Chair, to our board members, our staff who are present, our students, our guests and friends, and to our viewing audience. Good evening to all. I would like to begin by acknowledging once again tonight's honorees for a job well done in their respective areas. Congratulations. I would also like to pause and reach back into a day we celebrated just last week, and I'd like to offer some sincere gratitude to our absolutely incredible office administrators who serve both at our school and district levels each and every day. These individuals work tirelessly behind the scenes for the most part, but in large part, they keep the operations of our schools and the business of the district, as well as so much more, going strong every single day. So tonight, if you are viewing, allow me to say thank you to our outstanding administrative office professionals. We truly appreciate and value each of you. I would also like to thank those of you who attended the ribbon cutting to open this boardroom officially as the official boardroom moving forward, and the recording studio down the hall in this building, which is now available to any and all of our school buildings and in partnership with our community. Thank you for joining in that effort this afternoon. Board members, you will notice extensions on some of your microphones tonight. I would just like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphones as we are working to make certain our viewing audience can hear what all of us say throughout the course of our meetings. I would like to thank our technology department as well this evening, as you've made certain to make all of this possible with the use of the USDA funds. You've done an extraordinary job over the last 2.5 years, and we sincerely appreciate all of your efforts. Now, since our last board meeting, our students have had many incredible experiences and opportunities. Much like our Leader in Me program at Wilton Elementary School, our outstanding district-wide 10th grade career fair, whereby we had over 45 businesses in trades and educational opportunities for our students. We've had a fantastic ESL experience, family nights at both the northern and southern ends of our district, exceptional Earth Day celebrations, our 8th grade semi-formals and proms, a science night at Creedmoor Elementary in partnership with the Moorhead Planetarium, and so much more. I even had the fantastic opportunity to meet and speak with 3 of our ambassador groups, our teachers, STAC, our students, SAC, and parents, SPARK. And as always, they've provided great feedback, insight, and suggestions on behalf of this past school year in preparation for the next. And I will make certain to share that with your next superintendent. You know I welcome feedback because regardless of what is said, it is indeed a gift. Thank you one and all for a busy yet a productive month since we all last met. However, I'm excited about next week because it is one of my most favorite of the year. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I ask all of you to please remember next week and send our remarkable teachers notes of affirmation, a little message or two, or something to just let them know how much you appreciate what they do for the children in our school district. I also want to thank everyone who participated in our Granville Ed Foundation's Arts in Bloom project this past week. I'd like to begin by thanking our students for their incredible artwork and our art teachers for their guidance. We did a phenomenal job for this community. But the Granville Ed Foundation, you had the heavy lift in getting the word out and having a remarkable event. So I want to say thank you to everyone for your participation. I'd also like to say hats off to our JF Webb Band for a spectacular performance I understand you made in Atlanta, Georgia, this past Friday and Saturday. I understand you showed off. Thank you for doing that on behalf of Granville County Public Schools. Now looking ahead, May is a very special time of year. In many regards, it's a month full of celebrations and culminating events. So board members, in your folders tonight, you have a Spring 2023 document, and it is our school-based events that will help you plan ahead, because I want you to feel comfortable attending as many as possible. Of course, graduation is in there, but there are so many other events our schools have, and I wanted you to be able to plan ahead. Our students and educators are planning an array of events, fairs, competitions, awards programs, activities, showcases, and so much more. Our Evening of Excellence will be May 9th, and I want all of you to feel free to come out and celebrate with us as we bring this school year to a successful close. Now, with testing approaching later this month, please be mindful that the testing season is a serious one, but one whereby we can all participate in. That being said, our K-8 students, parents, and guardians, please remember to prepare with recall and testing tips. We will all make an effort to focus on the standards with all of our students, strategies, and reminders to help them be successful. We're asking our entire community to assist us with this. In fact, I hope everyone has seen some of those test tips that have gone out and the boot camp efforts that are taking place at all of our schools. The district boot camp will be Saturday, May 13th, and if your youngster is still in need of assistance, please reach out to his or her school. Our high school EOCs will be taken in June. Before closing tonight, please remember that on May 14th, our entire nation celebrates a very special day, and that is Mother's Day. And in honor of all mothers, grandmothers, aunties, mother figures, surrogate mothers, and so much more, please don't forget the wonderful women and those who step in to be the kind hearts that take care of all of us. Don't forget to say Happy Mother's Day. And finally, Happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Our district honors our children and families who represent and recognize these heritages and cultures. Do have a wonderful month of May, and I hope everyone enjoys tonight's meetings, for we have some important topics I know will be of concern. Madam Chair, this concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. I want to welcome everyone here tonight, as well as those who have joined us by live stream. We have a full agenda tonight as we conduct the business of the Granville County Board of Education. After spring break, our students and staff are back busier than ever as they finish the school year and prepare for the end of the year testing. For those graduating, this is a time of excitement and a time they are making decisions about their future. Even with all of this, planning is already well underway for summer programs and for the 23-24 school year. I would like to thank all of our educators for their commitment to moving our students forward during this current school year. I would also like to thank in advance our educators and staff who are working now and through the summer to prepare for the upcoming school year. This summer will be one of the busiest ever with all of the preparations for the move of the Hawley students and redistricting changes. We are grateful for the hard work the staff continues to put into this project. That concludes my remarks. Next, we will have reports from board members, and if you have something you want to report that you've been involved with, we'll just kind of go around the room. Ms. Hayes?
Sure. So it's been pretty busy these last couple of weeks. I've seen some of you off and on at different events. I did want to give a special shout out to a couple of people. I was able to catch up with some of our high school students on a public safety field trip. So I wanted to give a big thank you to Vance Granville BLET program and the Oxford Police Department and the Oxford Fire Department for hosting our public safety field trip, and the couple of high school students that we had that were interested in going around, and they gave some really good demonstrations and talked to our kids about, possible careers in public safety. So that was really neat of them to host our kids. So we're really appreciative of that. Also was able to get over to the 10th grade career fair at JF Webb, and I really want to thank Miss Tamara Rodenbaugh because that event was so awesome. Her team, her CTE team, is she here? She is. There she is. Hey. Okay, so they just did an absolutely stellar job. I think there were 40 plus vendors, right? 40 plus vendors, and it was a full day of activity for all of our 10th graders, and it was a really cool event. Also was able to make it out to the South Granville High School. Basically it was just a night of athletics. We went to the alumni night for the softball team, and there was senior night for the Lady Vikings soccer team, and then also alumni night for the men's varsity baseball team, which was really awesome to see all the community members to kind of come back to the school and show up and show their support for the Vikings athletic legacy there. And also, I did go to ESL, one of our ESL nights, and it was actually a really good experience. I actually wasn't aware that we have about 600 plus ESL students, English as a second language. And so it was really neat to go and see that that community and kind of be involved with that program and see Dr. Winborn in his element with the with the Spanish community. So that was really neat. Oh, and Wilton Leadership Day. That was another really fun one. That kind of stuff really makes this all worth it when we go and we visit the schools and we see all the students up there presenting, and we went around to all the different classrooms and learned about everything that they do all year and all their awesome leadership skills. So, and some of those kids are truly talented in their presentations. So that was really fun.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Ms. Anderson?
Well, I did get, of course, working with my allergies. I still got out. I was able to get out, and I saw you. We attended the career day for the 10th graders, and that was a fun event. Just like my co-part here says, just going around talking to the different vendors, and it was just great. That was definitely a great event, and I know those high schoolers really enjoyed it. One of the booths that I was busy all the time, and I had to go over and commend him for that, was with the Wildlife Association, and he had the children coming over because he had a couple of animals, and he talked about, watching out for snakes and how this time of the year they're going to start coming around, and I had to talk to him about that. But I really did enjoy that, and then went outside, and they had the wildlife manager there, a guy out there with the boat, because they do go around and make sure people on the water are safe and everything. And I had a great conversation with him about fishing license and hunting licenses. So I enjoyed the event. They gave me some great information, but everything there, all the booths, they were great. All of them in the community, and all of the different jobs, businesses in the community, they were there. Not to mention Granville County, not Granville County, but the college. They were there as well, talking to the students and everything. So it was a great event. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Ms. LeBrecq, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay. All right. Mr. Pease?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I took the privilege of going online and seeing what was going on in the General Assembly that affected schools. I went online actually and looked at the bills for last week, which was, and I only did Tuesday. And alone on Tuesday, they had 163 bills was filed on that one day. And 63 of them had to do with education. And a couple, for example, was I looked at House Bill 756, which would give the General Assembly power to recommend public K-12 standards. And my question sort of in my mind is, what's DPI going to do if they are going to take over that responsibility? The other one, preference was House Bill 188, which is student conduct. And now this one, based on what was in the bill, they would remove a list of violations that they consider too serious or not serious enough to suspend kids from school because kids spend too much time out of school. That sort of rung a bell with me. If the legislators are going to decide what going to warrant a kid getting suspended from school. Now, mind you, these are just bills that's been filed. And you know, the General Assembly with now a supermajority really concerns me. You know, it's like hunting season over there. And Miss Anderson can relate to this. She talks about going rabbit hunting and deer hunting and bear hunting and things like that. And now, I think it's hunting season over there on public education. And you know, when people go hunting, they go out to kill stuff. And if I feel like, this is my personal opinion, and I want everybody to understand that, if I feel like they're hunting public education, somewhere along the line they're gonna try to kill it. So, you know, y'all might think I'm exaggerating, but when you think about the 163 bills and 60 of them get filed on one day, now that doesn't include the one we have, 219, that all those things they're trying to do, and the one on parenting, making them responsible for what happens in schools. It just concerns me to a great extent as to what's going on over there. And I say this for people to understand that the things that makes a difference in our society is voting people out of office that don't do the right thing. And I'll end on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pease. Dr. Frederick, did you have anything to add?
Nothing to add right now.
Okay.
You didn't ask Ms. Lynn.
I had a few items that I was involved with.
Sorry, did you want to ask Dr. Lindsay if she has?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alice. You're going to get me for that.
No, I would not.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a chance to attend the Night of Kindness at Northern Granville a few weeks ago. That was a very outstanding program. I saw a lot of tears being shared from the presenters as well as the participants as well here. But I also thought about that we need some kindness now to come from our community here. As schools coming to a close, I would love to see some civic groups, sororities, fraternities, churches open their doors up to make sure that our kids will not go hungry this summer, have programs there. There can be some learning going on, some supervision going on here, because it can be some long, hot days of summer where our kids unsupervised, learning the laws, reading the math here. So it's time for our communities to get involved. I always have felt that schools cannot educate kids alone. It takes the home, school, and the community to educate our kids here. So the summer is a time we can get on board and get this train down and going down the right track as we prepare for the next school year. And those who do something like this, I love to see them come back in August and share what they did for our kids over the summer, by numbers and what they did for them. Because as I said before, 2 months of learning loss here and reading and math here takes a lot to gain that again. So please, let's get on board and get our community involved here to educate our kids for the summer.
Thank you so much. That's such a powerful message, because the summer is a time when many kids don't have the structure in their personal lives to stay on track. And if our communities can help, churches, organizations, that's going to be helpful to everyone. Thank you, Helen.
Thanks.
Few things. Mrs. Hayes talked about the Leader in Me program out at Wilton and the Leadership Day. I'd like to second that. That was an awesome program. It was totally student-led, and it was sort of like talking to little adults all day, and they were just so impressive, and it was a lot of fun. Another activity, well, it wasn't an activity, it was a presentation that I attended. I think Dr. McLean went to the expo, and it was put on and hosted by the county commissioners and representatives from Vance, Franklin, and I think maybe Warren counties also attended. In addition to some other speakers, we heard from Attorney General Josh Stein. He gave information about the lawsuit that was brought against drug companies and North Carolina's amount of money that they will be getting to fight opioid crisis. And our county will be getting some money, and they talked about the ways that it's being used in other areas and things that can be done with the money. So that's a process that's been going on. So you may want to try to keep up with it in your newspaper, and if you have suggestions, to contact commissioners or the people that are on those committees. We also found out that we will receive some curriculum materials at no cost to us. And one of the things that was really kind of scary when Attorney General Stein was asked the question, how are we talking about the opioid deaths? What ages? And he said the age level gets younger and younger each year. So it is an area of concern for our whole state and our whole nation. So we're glad that that's something going on, and hopefully we can be involved in a positive way. I also had the pleasure this past week of visiting Granville Central High School and toured some CTE classrooms. I met the very newest addition to the ag program there, a new baby lamb. And I think the lamb's name was Junior, if I'm not mistaken. And the children, you could tell, were extremely thrilled and protective of the little fella. One of the students I happened to talk to talked about how, she's a young lady, how her CTE classes that she's been taking have exposed her to so many different career paths, things that she had never thought about before. And that was just a real interesting conversation. And like Ms. Hayes, I ended up out at South Granville at the alumni game too, and saw some of the softball game, some of the soccer game, and some of the baseball game. I didn't see the whole games in any event, but I did get my steps in on my watch. It was a fun night. Those kids playing, they're serious about that, and it's fun to watch them. I will mention that Granville Ed Foundation did have the art gala, and I got a call today because I had some that I had bid on, and I asked, and she indicated, Jennifer indicated that they feel like they did as well this year, if not better. So hopefully, Ms. LeBrecq, you'll be able to give us some information next time on how that ended up. But that was a real fun thing to go to. We have a lot of talent in our schools. It's just phenomenal to look at. It was pictures and drawings and creations from all across our county and all across our schools. And that pretty much sums up what we've been doing, other than a lot of meetings. And I think that's what we have next is to public comments next, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This evening we have two individuals that have signed up for public comment. The first is Jamie Herndon. Ms. Herndon, if you'd like to approach the podium. When you're ready, I'll start a timer with 5 minutes, and I'll just give you a little heads up when you have about a minute left.
Okay. I don't think I'll take that whole time, but thank you.
All right, yes, ma'am.
a little bit shorter over here, so I'm going to move it down. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight. As mentioned, my name is Jamie Herndon, and I am a 6th year School of Choice parent at Butner STEM Elementary School. And a lot's happened in those last 6 years, but one thing that I can say with certainty that has remained consistent is that the supportive and stable environment provided by the Butner STEM staff is unmatched. To my family, Butner STEM is not just a school, it's a community, it's a safe space, and it's a family. So I am proud to be in my 3rd year as well, serving as the BSES PTO Vice President. Those of you who have spent any time at BSES, you've probably heard a thing or two about our PTO. We are a very active group, and I am proud to serve along with all of them. So the reason why I'm here tonight, obviously, is there was a decision that was made last week. My district school was Creedmoor Elementary, and I am in one of those unique areas where, although I live within Butner city limits, I have a Creedmoor address. And so with the adjustment now, our district school is going to be Mount Energy. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit of information about what that means to me and my family, because that means that Butner STEM will no longer be an option. So having learned that Butner STEM is going to be removed from the choice schools, and with restrictions to who can be and will be grandfathered in, I have 2 children that are still in elementary school. My oldest is moving on to middle school, so an exciting change for her. However, my 2 younger children will be impacted by this decision in a huge way. I know that children are resilient, but at what point do they get a break from unnecessary need for resiliency? I mean, we've been through COVID, we've been through so many changes in the past few years, and Butner STEM is their home. So I could spend the next hour telling you just how much Butner STEM has meant to me and my family, and how much this change will negatively impact our family. But I want to just kind of highlight the most critical aspects from my perspective as a parent. So first, it's going to remove a familiar, comfortable, and safe space that my family and children know. Second, it removes the familiarity of the educational support and needs for my children. That is something that has been learned and gained through the staff members across the school at Butner STEM. So having to move to a different school midstream removes all of that familiarity. My middle son has some concerns, and we have worked very closely with the classroom staff to make sure that he has and is able to receive the highest level of education. He's met at his level. So starting over from scratch, it's going to negatively impact him. There is going to be a lot of the progress that we've seen is very likely going to regress. Certainly not something that we want for our students, and not for my son. The third is one of the things that we have really loved about being at Butner STEM is the availability to STEAM and the PLTW. I can't tell you how much the project-led environment has helped my students, my children. And so not having that as an available option to them anymore. I was mentioning earlier today, my oldest joined the robotics club earlier this year, and my middle son was so excited to see these robotics in action.
1 minute.
Thank you. He was so excited to see these robotics in action that I was a little heartbroken to tell him he had to wait 2 more years because he wasn't quite old enough yet. But again, removing him from Butner STEM takes away that opportunity for him, takes away that science, technology, engineering opportunity in the hands-on projects. And finally, it's a genuine logistical nightmare for my family because we would be taken away from a school that is 3 miles and 5 minutes from our home to one that's on the opposite side of a different city. So we're looking at 20 to 25 minutes one way twice a day. And and having children in multiple locations, that's hard at a time that's already difficult for families. So if I could just leave one last moment and say, I would please urge you to reconsider denying existing students an opportunity to have the grandfathered option for this school. Thank you so much. You all have a great evening.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Herndon. Next individual that signed up for public comment is Sue Springer, and the topic is previous board member comments. So, Ms. Springer, when you're ready, I'll start the timer.
Go. Hey, good evening. Mrs. Lindsay, Dr. Lindsay, I want to say that was a great idea to get churches and civic organizations involved, but I think that that would be best started a lot earlier, because to say to a church now, get a program in place, it just makes it hard. So maybe next year, around New Year's, we could start dealing with that.
Thanks.
I wanted to comment, man, this is really low. I wanted to comment, Mr. Peace, I was here 2 months ago, and I couldn't come last month. I would have said this last month, but I wasn't able to be here. One of the things that you said that you were concerned about was our money, the district's money. And you were concerned that it was going to charter schools and private schools. And I want you to remember something very important. That's not the school district's money. That's the taxpayers' money. There's a House bill coming up, 793, I believe it is, and they're going to issue parents, should it get passed, the ability to put their kids in whatever school they want with funding from the state money. And for people who are not happy with what's going on in the school district, that's a very viable option for them to either homeschool their kids or put them in private or charter schools. So there's a reason that people are leaving the public schools, and we need to address that. The other thing I wanted to address was, Mrs. Anderson, you had commented on that retreat that you went to, or what, I'm not sure what it was, conference. You had talked about diversity, inclusion, and equity, and I wanted to address the difference between equity and equality. Equality says we're going to give everyone the same starting point. And if a student excels, we're going to reward that. And if a student is not willing to put in the time, they're not going to get rewarded for that. We're going to reward them for doing the right thing and doing a great job at it. Equity is a socialist concept, and that says that A students, they're going to get A's. D students, they're going to get A's. We're going to give everybody an A, and we're going to graduate them no matter what level they're at. And I think that that's a really dangerous thing. I think that when you look, I have a friend who went to Russia on a regular basis, and he was talking to his woman translator who he saw regularly over there, and she said her husband worked at Chernobyl. You remember Chernobyl? The meltdown? And he warned the officials that that thing was going to melt down. And they didn't like what he was saying, so they made him a cabbie, and then the thing melted down. And each of them at that time, he and his wife both got, she was a translator, she spoke 11 languages fluently, they both got $6 a week. So it didn't matter if you were a nuclear physicist, a cab driver, or a translator, you all got $6 a week, and that really destroys incentive. So I want to say, I'm not happy with the equity thought. Equality is different, and I think that that's the thing that we need to shoot for, because we want our students to be the best they can be. And when a student is falling behind, we want them encouraged to do better. And if they do something that's not appropriate for school, we want that addressed as well. So there's a big difference between equality and equity, and I wanted to be clear about that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Springer. Madam Chairwoman, that concludes public comment.
Okay.
I just need to backtrack just a moment just to say that we did have an academic committee meeting on the 5th of April. Finance Committee meeting on the 25th of April, Operations Committee meeting on the 27th of April, and a Policy Committee meeting held on the 24th of April. There are some attachments here on minutes. On the ones that there's action coming, I'm not going to go into any detail because it will come before the board later in our agenda. Some of the items may not come up because we're in discussion about our thoughts on budget and planning and that kind of thing. So I ask fellow board members, if you read the minutes and you have any concerns or if you have some suggestions, to please send me or one of the board members that's on the committee your thoughts, so as we continue to meet that we can get a little bit more input. So just want to let you know that. Thank you. All right, next we will get to consent items, and we have 801 is field trip approval, 802 is restart calendar change, 803 is contract approval with Strong Arm Bakery and Kitchen, and 804 is Elevate K-12 contract renewal. If no one has any questions, and I'm sure you've probably all had a chance to read through this material, we can handle this in, I suspect, one motion, correct? Or if there are any questions, we can certainly address them at this time.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent items.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Peace. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Dr. Lindsay. The motion is to approve the consent items as listed in our agenda. All in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. Next is policy section 901, communities in schools. And I believe that's an action item, so we have a presentation.
We do. We have guests with us this evening. I'm going to ask Mr. Willie Gillis, who's the director of our Embedded Operations Northeast Region for Communities in Schools, to come forward this evening. And he has some guests with him. Good evening, Mr. Gillis.
Madam Superintendent, Madam Chairwoman, and other distinguished board members, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Willie Gillis Jr., and I'm Director of Embedded Operations for Community and Schools of North Carolina. And tonight we'll come on behalf of Community and Schools to ask that we continue our great work here in Granville County at J.F. Webb and Northern Granville Middle School, as we have, this work has been going on. This is our 6th continued year at J.F. Webb and our 2nd year at Northern Granville, and it has been a really, really great opportunity for us to work with the kids here in Granville County School District. Next slide, please. Behind me, I have some really awesome people behind me, especially these two beautiful young ladies behind me, Miss Natalie and Miss LaTanya Oakley. They work at J.F. Webb and Northern Granville Middle School. I am a small cog in the success, in the wheel of success, but this is where the rubber meets the road, these two young ladies. And I also have Dr. Elmore Lowry, who is Vice President of Student Supports for Community Schools of North Carolina. Next slide, please. And this is our Community and Schools model, and basically we deliver student integrated supports to students at both the middle school and the high school. And we have done so, as I've said, for 6 years now. We've had tremendous success in delivering those integrated student supports. Next slide, please. This is the impact for 2021 and 2022. We served 2 schools, 779 students, 30 parents and family engaged through CIS supports. 68 students received targeted intensive supports. 89% of K through 11 students were promoted to the next grade, and we're so proud of that. And also, 100% of the seniors at JF Webb that was in CIS graduated. That's an awesome feat for Ms. LaTanya Oakley, who did a great job. 70% of the students met or progressed towards attendance and goals, and 100% of our students who were in CIS were either promoted or either progressed towards behavior goals. And that was our focus in both of the schools. We focused on behavior, so all of the interventions that were provided was based on behavior, and 100% of those students met or progressed towards behavior goals. And students, we didn't have any students that did not progress because we had 100% of the students progress. But the data is wonderful, and we all love data. But the most impactful thing that we could do tonight was bring some of those students before you and give them the opportunity and give them their testimony of success and where they were before community in the schools and where they are now. So without further ado, I would like to bring Ms. LaTanya Oakley and Ms. Natalie Bass before you, and we'll present some of our students. And we'll talk about some of the success of these students. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be before you again. Tonight, I want to bring up two of my students and let you hear from them the opportunities that they have received being a part of Communities in School from JF Webb. Absolutely love this job, love JF Webb, and I love my students. So if we could have Ms. Brooks to come up. Come up to Jamai.
Hi, I'm Carrington. I'm at JF Webb. I'm a junior. CIS, I love this program because it doesn't just open opportunity for me to go to college. It also helped me have encouraged to boost other students join CIS because we're going towards for college, and it has made me think if I wanted to go to this college or if I wanted to go to a different college. It has helped me understand the importance of going to college. CIS has helped me understand it has helped me create more friends in CIS. I encourage my classmates, and I encourage other students at my school to join CIS because it's just a very fun environment, and the enjoyment of being with Ms. Oakley is just great.
I'm Jamai Glasgow, and for CIS, it has helped me a lot. As KB said, in the beginning, I really didn't have as many friends, but the ones that were in there, we kind of like drew closer together. And three of my top favorite things so far in CIS have been healthy lifestyle, because I want to start eating better, writing checks, because you know we all need to know how to write a check. And the third one is going on college tours, and we went to the International Civil Rights Museum. That was, you know, real fun, seeing some things that we haven't seen before or learned about before.
With her saying that we write checks, Ms. Oakley has also had guests come and speak to us, and she doesn't just have us in a group. Like, she'll split us up as in female to male. I know recently the males got to learn how to tie a tie, and that was very thoughtful of her. Ms. Oakley, she really helped students at JF Webb because we can go to her about anything. I go to Ms. Oakley almost every day. I talk to her about anything because I just had that safe space. Ms. Oakley and Ms. Bass has created a safe place for students, not just to join the program. If we need anything or we need to talk about anything, if we just need anything, they're right there for us.
Excellent.
And I'm Natalie, and I'm Northern Granville, and I have a student to speak to you today. I have Nevaeh Smith.
CIS has helped me with my anger issues. In 7th grade, I wasn't the best student, but I can say that, sorry, I'm nervous.
It's okay. You're doing great, sweetie.
I was always in trouble because I was hard-headed and never knew how to listen. But when I got to 8th grade, thanks to Mr. McKinney, he put me in CIS, and I have learned to control my anger issue. And
You're doing a wonderful job, honey.
he has helped me find ways to control my anger, and he has also helped me by telling me when I was upset, it is not good to raise my voice because that would only make a situation worse. I would like to thank him because I know without him today, I would not be this person I am. So thank you, Mr. McKinney, for your help.
Wonderful.
Very nice.
And the gentleman she just mentioned was Mr. Anthony McKenna, who was a student support specialist at Northern Granville Middle School. He has moved on, unfortunately. Social service keep grabbing our people. He has moved on. But that's 3 of the testimonials from community and school students about the work that we've done for them. We would like to continue our work. Of course, as you all know, everything's going up, so we're going to ask for a small increase, which is not a lot compared to the return on our investment, as you see tonight. So we're asking $24,000 in the past years, and a little context on that. For the first 3 years in Granville County, community and schools paid 100% for everything for the first 3 years. The last 2 years, we've asked for $24,000, and this year we're asking for $30,000, which is a small investment on the return that you're seeing. So we've come before you tonight and ask you for that we continue our work in Granville County Public Schools.
Mr. Gillis, will you give the context of the total cost, please, compared to what you're asking?
The total cost at each site, $76,000, in which community schools is taking care of everything except the $30,000. So that's about 39% increase, or where we are investment, 39% into that. So we're asking that you support the 39%, and we're supporting the rest of that. And like I said, for the first 3 years, that was 0. And also, for the last 2 years, there's been a third person who's a re-engagement coordinator. That re-engagement coordinator has provided, when we coming back from COVID, our kids weren't coming to school. So at no cost for the last 2 years, we provided a re-engagement coordinator, which was Ms. Bass at JF Webb, to make sure our kids are coming back and being re-engaged to the classroom. So that was a tremendous piece of work that community and schools, that we got some money from our national that invested in that. That was tremendous work that had to be done, re-engaging kids. And Ms. Bass, she knocked on a lot of doors and got kids to come back to school and get back in those seats. So that was important work for us to get done, important work. So we're asking for the $6,000 at each site for us to continue this important work in Granville County Public Schools. Dr. Elmore Lowry, who is our vice president, can bring more context on the money. He's the money guy.
Go easy, Willie. First of all, I'd like to thank you all. It feels so great to be in a room full of educators and people who have the vision of our public school system. We know that education is the lifeblood of our system, and I greatly appreciate you all allowing us to be a good partner with you all. And so we don't want to try to break the bank, and that's one reason that we did not ask for 100%, and never will we ask for 100%. And so we're just asking for a little support in terms of helping us to pay for it. With 2 great employees like this, you would never get for $30,000, regardless of where you go and shop for those. And so I'm just grateful for the type of work that they do. And as you can tell, that our educational system is taking a major hit all over. We're working with an elementary school right now, an elementary school where almost half of the population is overdosing on fentanyl up in the western part of the state. And so we try to go in and try to adjust our system and our platform to help out the schools, because the school teachers themselves are overworked, and there's a lot of things that they cannot provide because they have so many different things that they must accomplish within their day. And so our specialists come in and try to fill those gaps, and we'll do whatever we need to do to continue to be a great partner. So we are asking for a slight increase, and we do realize that every district may not be able to meet that because it's kind of almost at the end of your budget and your planning, but we're just asking that you take that into consideration, because our work is not going to end. Excuse me. The students are what we are here for. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those questions.
I have a question. You guys have obviously been doing some amazing work, and those numbers are really impressive. I'm a huge proponent of offering equal educational opportunities across our district. So are there any future plans to expand to other schools?
Great question, Mrs. Hayes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so CIS-NC North Carolina is a non-profit organization. And so every dime that we spend, we have to raise. And so we want to make sure that before we start expanding, that we can hold up to our end, because our end of the bargain is about 70%, roughly about 70%. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, we would love to consider expanding.
So the answer to that would be, one, I think if you could find the personnel and the funding, and if we could match with our end financially, that is something we'd be willing to do.
Absolutely.
That being said, allow me to just say we continue to be in awe with the work these young ladies have done with our children. We are extremely appreciative and grateful with the outcomes, not just the data, but with what is done on a regular daily basis with the children. It's phenomenal.
Thank you so much. And one thing that we really believe in, and that's building solid relationships, not only with the students, but also with the faculty and the support staff, because they go so far down the road if you can build a solid relationship, because some students, this is all they have. This is all they have. I've seen it across the state. They don't have a good, stable home, but they can come to our support specialists, and they'll be right there. So thank you all for allowing us to be a partner.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for the work you do. I believe this comes to us as an action item.
It does.
Any discussion, or do we have a motion?
Are funds available to match the what they want for next year? Are funds available that we can continue our end of the bargain of the program?
Are there funds available?
It is one of those where I would say, if available.
This is an increase in approximately approximately $6,000 in this budget. We've been paying for this for the last couple of years. So $6,000 is just the difference.
And it's $6,000 total, not $6,000 per school.
Correct.
It's total.
The total increase is $6,000.
But you're talking about adding to it.
Not this year, I think, from what I heard.
Yeah.
Correct. This is our existing
for
staffing
next year.
level.
Okay.
For next school year.
So if you could clarify, the request is to approve $30,000 per school for.
It's
No.
not 30,000 per school. It's
It's
30,000. That is the total amount.
Okay, I thought he
Ms.
said
Hines,
per
I
site.
believe
Oh,
that
is
is-
that
I'm
correct?
sorry, I believe it is per site.
I'm
In a
sorry.
meeting, yeah, I
That's
think.
the difference. Okay.
We were, in the planning meeting, Mr. Gillis had said that, I'm looking back at my notes, that it is 30,000 up from 24 per site. So my apologies if you didn't get that memo.
My apologies.
Yeah.
And there's 2 sites.
Yes, ma'am.
So then it is a $12,000 increase.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And is that feasible within our budget, do you feel, or?
It's 12,000 is, we would simply have to find that 12,000 somewhere else. So it's just a matter of priorities for the district. But, you know, this is a benefit to the district. And again, we go back to this is 2 staff individuals that we couldn't get 2 staff individuals for 30,000 each. So it's a savings in that sense.
This is about the biggest bang we're gonna get for our book these days. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve it.
Absolutely.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Our
Thank you.
next item is academic updates.
Yes, ma'am, with Dr. Winborn and his team.
Yes, so good evening again. Tonight, we have our monthly academic updates to present, and I'm going to defer to my team for almost all of this tonight. And we've got everyone here if there's any questions. I've got with me Dr. Felicia Whitaker, if you would come up, Ms. Shelby Hunt, and Ms. Lisa Tusa. Next slide, Mr. Connor. We got 4 topics, and we're going to hit them in this order, and we can pause and take questions or provide context if you need it for each one. Our first is our summer programs update, then where we are with letters or the science of reading professional development, cursive writing, and social studies curriculum update. So I will turn it over to you, Dr. Whitaker.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Whitaker.
Okay. We're going to start off with some updates about summer programs. On the screen, we have all of the summer programs that we are going to offer our students this summer. Just take a look, and if you have any questions, just let us know. We're going to do the reading camp, which is a camp that we're required by state law to provide for students who have not met literacy proficiency. This year, the state has given us funding to provide that camp for 2nd and 3rd grade. However, we were able to go and look at some additional funds, and we're expanding that. So we're actually offering reading camp this summer for our K-3 students, and they're going to be provided supplemental reading support during the 4-week period. And you can just take a look and see the schools that we're going to offer each camp, the dates and the time, whether or not we're providing transportation, and we're providing transportation and meals for most of our summer programs. And we also wanted to give an update about how many students are registered for each camp. If you take a look at the reading camp, as of Friday or Thursday when this presentation was submitted, we had 236 students registered, but we opened the survey again. We wanted to get more students because we sent about 300 invitations out. As of about 3 o'clock this afternoon, we have 423 students registered for reading camp, and we're excited about that because we've extended it out to our K-1 students as well. So if you just take a look, we're also providing summer adventures for K-7 students. They're going to get support with, let me look, participation in hands-on and engineering activities. This is Shelby's program. I don't know if she wants to add anything else or, okay. All right. And it's summer career program for high school and middle school. For middle school students, the high school career program will provide them also with hands-on experience in engineering. The high school program, this is a program where students will be able to earn credentials. They will have experience with multiple program areas. They're going to also visit the local community college in their CTE areas. I might as well take these off. I can't see with them on. And they're going to visit local businesses. Okay, and we're also going to provide high school summer credit recovery for those students who need to catch up in some of their coursework. Next slide, please. Also, for this summer, we're going to provide Granville Summer Teamships, and this is for students in grades 8 through 12, where students will work on a team to solve a real-life problem. They will be able to write about this and include it on college applications and resumes. We're excited that the CTE department is also going to offer summer paid internships for students in grades 10 through 12. They will have the opportunity to work 30 hours per week for 5 weeks. The only catch to this is students must be 16 years old or older to work, and applications were due today, which was May 1st. And we're also going to provide our traditional summer bridge program for our students who arise in kindergarten, 6th, and 9th grade. It will be provided at each one of our schools, and the principals have the autonomy to staff that program and to sort of plan out how they want that to look at each school. The days for that program, July 31st and August 1st through 3rd. Our elementary hours are 8 to 2 and secondary 9 to 3. And we're going to culminate that again with our big cookout at the Gap. That was a really, really, really successful event last year, and we're going to provide that opportunity again. Okay. Next slide, please. So we are very excited. We are finishing our first year of Science of Reading, Letters, Professional Development. And our teachers and principals and staff, everyone has been working very hard to finish our first year, Volume 1. If you take a look at the presentation, what I've broken down here is we have 3 groups that are taking letters. We have our pre-K teachers who are taking letters early childhood. We have our K-5 teachers who take letters K-5, and then we have our letters for administrators. And so if you take a look at each one, it tells you where we are with the unit completion. Volume 1 has 4 units, and our teachers and our staff are doing a wonderful job completing each one of the units. We are asking that all teachers and staff have Unit 4 completed by May 25th, and post-test. There's a post-test at the end of Units 1 through 4. We're also asking them to have that completed by May 25th. Reason being, the board approved for us to give an incentive. We're giving a $1,200 incentive for teachers who have a mastery score of 80 to 100%, and an $800 incentive for a mastery score of 60 through 79. And in order to ensure teachers get their incentive during the June pay period, we had to have a cutoff at the end of May. So teachers are aware of this, we've been communicating this, and we have quite a few teachers at this time who've already completed all 4 units and they've taken their post-test. Our administrators are also doing a great job. If you can see, most of them have completed all 3 portions that they need to take it as administrators. And we have 2 district support staff who have completed letters for administrators as well. Okay, any questions about letters? Okay.
I have a question. How much implementation are you seeing in the classroom? A great deal?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing right now, I wouldn't say a great deal because teachers are still going through Volume 1, but we have seen, and in talking with teachers and our PLCs, they are getting a better understanding of some of those foundational skills and strategies that they need, and they have begun implementing those. We'll see much more when they finish this volume as they're moving into the new school year. We'll see much more of the implementation from the first volume, and then we'll move on into the second volume. But the conversations that we've been having with teachers around letters and PLCs at schools, they've been extremely rich. Teachers have said that this is a great professional development. It's actually teaching some of the things that we don't get in undergrad. And I'll say again, as a high school English teacher, I did not know if I had students who came to me in 9th grade who were on a 3rd grade reading level. I didn't know how to go back and teach them how to read. But even going through just the scaled down version of what we get as administrators, I got the opportunity to see the science behind it and how we actually teach students how to read with the decoding and the phonics and so forth. So we are anticipating seeing some great results and improvement in literacy as we move along.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Williams, I'd like to just add a follow-up comment. One challenge we're going to face, and Dr. Whitaker's already working on this, is that as we hire new staff next year and we have turnover, this will be an ongoing process. We may receive teachers from other school districts who have already gone through units 1 through 4. We may have some that are done with even volume 2, and we may have some that have not done it at all yet. So while we start next year with year 2 with our current staff, we may also be starting another group on year 1, and so on and so forth. So
Is this taught in the North Carolina teacher colleges now? Is that a required part of their training?
So in trainings that I've gone to, Ms. Williams, it was supposed to trickle down into our four-year university colleges and universities. Yes, they were partnering with NCDPI to provide this type of training or this letters training for college students who are going through teacher ed programs. And Dr. Winborn is absolutely correct. So we know that when we move into volume 2 next year, majority of our teachers will be in volume 2. They will be doing units 5 through 8. We have a new teacher cohort, and that cohort right now consists of teachers who started in January. So those teachers who started in January and those who will be new to GCPS, they will be going through volume 1. And to help us sustain and build capacity, we've reached out and we've started identifying teacher leaders, those who are interested in being letters facilitators. So they will be letter ambassadors at their schools, and they will be the ones helping this new group come through with volume 1, as well as providing support for their colleagues who are going on through volume 2. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, and we wanted to give an update on cursive writing. And if you take a look, the questions that we have here, this is a survey that we have to fill out. The state requires us to submit a survey around the 1st of December of each year because we are required by state law to make sure cursive writing is being taught. And so I pulled some of the data from the survey that we submitted to the state so that you can get an idea of how cursive writing is being taught in our schools and what we're doing basically to support it. So I give you a few minutes to take a look at that, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
I'm curious. So do we don't start teaching cursive? Sorry, it's me over here. Thank you. We don't start teaching cursive until 3rd grade?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any possibility of starting that at a younger age?
We probably can. The reason we started at 3rd is because that's what's centered around the state law, but there's nothing that say that we can't try and push it down a little earlier. I don't know if students will be ready developmentally or not, but we definitely can have conversations around that.
Yeah, I just know that like there are some other schools in the area that have started in 2nd grade,
Okay.
but Montessori I know starts in they're taught cursive before they're even taught how to print, and that's
Okay.
also had good results. So I just didn't know if
Okay,
that was
well,
something.
we have it down on
Great.
our list to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Any more questions? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Just going to give you a little bit of an update on our social studies curriculum. Right now, we've had a few meetings with our our Board of Ed academic committee. So thank you for those great conversations that we've had there. It was decided in our last meeting that we're going to wait until the state releases their list of approved textbooks and curriculum before we get together our outside committee, our social studies adoption committee, for the selection of that vendor or resource that we're going to use. Things we talked about considering, very important, of course, are the financial resources that we have available and the state level scrutiny that would go towards the materials that we collect, that we decide on. We also want to make sure that we include parents and even outside community members and board members in that decision. So discussing that, there's the strong possibility that an adoption will not happen until 2024, 2025, or beyond, just because we need that time to really make sure we're choosing the right curriculum for social studies. Lots of decisions to be made there. Questions?
Do we know where the state is with their process now?
So the last I heard is it was supposed to come out in, I think it was March, and we're at May 1st, and I haven't seen it yet. So I do know that companies have told me they know they're on the list, but without seeing that list, we're not moving forward until we see that list.
Thank you, Ms. Tusa.
Well, that concludes our presentation for tonight. Thank you, team. Great work.
Thank y'all very much. Next on our agenda is 903, our child nutrition beds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. McLean and Chairman Williams. It is my great pleasure to introduce Meg Strong, our Child Nutrition Director, who is here to present the annual discussion about bids for next year. And she has some good news, and I'd like to turn it over to Meg.
Good evening, board members, Dr. McLean. It's very nice to be here this evening. I am here to ask the board members to approve our bids for next school year, 23-24, for the following vendors: Cisco Raleigh, Mayola Milk, and R&H Produce. The bids for next year, we're very excited about our R&H Produce bid. We have been able to negotiate a fee decrease for delivery from $5.25 to $3. So we're very excited about that. We can get those children some fresh fruits and vegetables. You'll see some strawberries and blueberries rolling through in the next month or so. Then in the fall, you'll see some nice fresh watermelon and such. So with that decrease, that helps our budget a lot. That expected usage from R&H is going to be about $65,000. Some of that we do have a grant for, so hopefully it'll be a little bit less, but right now we look at $65,000. For our milk bid, Mayola has agreed to extend their bid for next year with a 1 cent per carton increase. That's an excellent increase. I mean, it's an excellent low increase compared to some of the neighboring districts are getting. The 1 cent increase is within our DPI USDA guidelines, and that Mayola milk will be about $185,000 for next year. We're going to have fat-free chocolate, fat-free strawberry, fat-free unflavored, and 1% unflavored milk for that. And then our last bid that we're asking you to approve tonight is our Cisco Raleigh bid. The delivery fee for our commercial products grocery bid is $2.48. Our delivery fee for our NCDA commodity products is $4, and the bid is around $750,000. Now that is for all of our groceries and all of our supplies. So that's going to be all our pizzas, all our trays, all our sporks. Well, we're not going to use sporks, but our meal kits, our snacks, our drinks, our everything. So what we're asking for tonight is to go ahead and bid. And I did put a link on the slides if anybody is interested in what the grocery bid looks like, just if you want to take a look at it. But we are asking for the board to approve those 3 vendors for next school year. Any questions?
I would like to say I was a part of this meeting this week, and I appreciate all of the work and everything that you've put into it.
Thank you.
I don't know, but I was able to locate a farm-to-school grant program if we would want to reach out to any other local farms around the area to help with some of this stuff as well, that we could partnership with them, because I know right now there was one that you said that's a little bit of a distance, but we are able to partner with them.
Correct.
And so I know there's a grant program that maybe we could help get some of the other local farms to kind of jump on board as well.
We're working with working landscapes to see what we can do to partner with some of our socioeconomically depressed farmers to try and get the biggest hurdle there is the GAP certification.
Right.
But we are going to be working with working landscapes to try and utilize our grant money for those farmers.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
again
it's a big
so
focus for us for next year.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This is an action item, board.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Strong.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Excellent work. Thank you, Gail.
Our next item is 904, Alternative Accountability Model for the 23-24 year for Phoenix Academy.
Wonderful. We have our principal, Mr. Dickens, and Miss Amy Rice. They're doing a fantastic job this year, and this comes before you as an action item as well.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members. We are here to present, Mr. Dickens and I, about our alternative accountability model options. And so, as you know, Phoenix Academy is an alternative school. And so each year, this must be approved for us to continue to have an alternative accountability model for our school. There are 3 reasons that a school can have an alternative model. Those are the 3. The only one that we qualify for is that first one that is highlighted. It has a separate code, and it is an alternative school in our school system. If you have any questions about the school, Mr. Dickens can highlight anything you'd like to know about Phoenix Academy. Next slide. This gives you a little bit of information about the 3 options that we could choose for an alternative model. Option A would just not be an alternate option. It would say that we would follow the model that we use for all of our other schools, how we choose to get a school grade for the school. Option B would follow that we use a score that compares how does the school do this year compared to how did the school do last year, and you have a little flexibility in what goes into that school grade and what we're comparing. And then option C is we could be creative and present to the state school board a brand new model, but we would have to have evidence and research on what that model would be, so we're not choosing to do that. So we usually use model B, which next slide will show you what that is. So model B uses student persistence, would be that Mr. Dickens does all he can do to make sure that any students who ever come through the doors of Phoenix Academy remain enrolled in school for the year. So even if they leave Phoenix Academy, that they stay enrolled in school, either at a school in Granville County Schools, and another school in the state of North Carolina, or that he makes sure that if they're going out of state, that he makes sure that those students are staying enrolled in school. And so if they transfer somewhere, we document that. And so we get 20% for student persistence, that they are staying in school. The other 20% is student achievement. So that whole proficiency, that they score a level 3, 4, or 5, just like all of our other schools. High school, do they graduate in 4 years? How do they do on their EOCs? Math course rigor, just the same thing that our high schools and middle schools and elementary schools are accountable for. And then the other is school growth. So this is where an alternative school, we get 60% for school growth, instead of what our other schools only get 20%. Okay, so that's what we're comparing to. How do they do last year compared to this year? And that's what goes into the model. Okay, any questions? And then instead of the growth that we normally talk about, where you exceeded or you maintained or you didn't exceed, you get progressing, maintaining, or declining. So to give an example, last year they maintained, and so they had a grade or designation of maintaining. And so we would love to have progressing. Maintaining's good, right in the middle. Next slide. And so this is an action item. We would like to continue to use this model for Phoenix Academy, and that we would continue to use Model B. And if we don't have enough sufficient data, which means that we have at least 30 scores, that we would have students who have 30 scores, you continue to just gather that data over years, and then they hold it and then give you a score once you have 2 years worth of data. He'll have 30 scores. I don't foresee where he wouldn't. Yeah. Because just think, if they take the reading test, it's also a math test. So if you just have 15 kids, you would get a reading score and a math score. So that's how you get it. So don't just think, Any questions?
About how many students are you currently serving?
Sorry.
Currently, we're serving about 65 students.
And they're all high school students?
We have high school and middle.
Okay.
And 1 elementary.
Really?
Yes, we just recently received 1 elementary student.
Are the students that typically come to you, do they typically stay for the entire rest of the school year, or?
It depends. Some students have been assigned to us for the school year. Some are assigned to us just for a semester. It depends on what time of the year they get assigned to us. And we also have some students that at the beginning of the year was more like a volunteer or was there last year and they decided to stay because of the setting.
And they let you know, or they let me know. I go visit. I'm here by choice, Ms. Ross. There's many that are there by choice. They know they need a small setting, or they were successful there last year.
Okay, thank you.
For the student persistence, I mean, how complicated is that if they leave the school or if they leave the state for you to stay in touch with them?
Well, so far it's been pretty good. Most of the time if a student transfer out, we'll get a request from another school district or school for those records for saying that child has been enrolled in the school. If they move, sometimes they move out of state, depending on the age too. It's kind of hard. You got to just kind of stay on them, see where they're at.
Yeah, thank you.
If it's in state, it's really easy. If it's in state, it's through Power School, and we don't have to do a thing. It'll pick it up through Power School. If it's out of state, they have to send to me the transfer request, and then I have to log it into the system and provide evidence of it.
I'd like to approve as presented.
Second.
It's an action item. Do we have a motion to approve?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just have them so fast. Second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion passes. No objections.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your service there.
Next is the Career and Technical Education CTE Program and State Plan.
Absolutely.
Sounds like Ms. Salisbury.
It does, and this comes to you as action as well tonight. So Ms. Salisbury and her team is coming up.
I have a wonderful CTE team. So every time I come before you, I'm bringing the boots on the ground, because these are the folks who make our CTE program so robust and so wonderful. Tamara Rodaby, Adrian Cooper, and Peter Ashford. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Chairwoman Williams, Dr. McLean, board members. This evening I bring to you an overview of our Granville County Public Schools CTE program. We have 7 program areas and offer 18 pathways to students. We utilize our funding to provide 25 high school teachers, 6 middle school teachers, and 4 support staff. Some programs, as you can see from this graphic, are provided at all 3 traditional high schools, while others are unique to their high school. This provides students across our district with differing opportunities. Next slide. We are so excited that based on student interest and high skill, high demand job opportunities
available in our region of North Carolina. We will be adding 3 new pathways next school year: drone technology, teaching as a profession, and computer science. We have explored several other pathway offerings based on student interest, but we have decided not to pursue those at this time because of the lack of job demand in our area.
Ms. Salisbury, may I take you back for just a minute?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that the public sees something that we think is just amazing. And so that our board is very clear about what is in the middle.
Teacher profession.
You know, growing your own is going to be critically important in this season. And so I want you to see that you are one of the districts working on growing your own and starting in high school.
Absolutely.
This is now work you're doing in high school with teaching as a profession. We're really, really excited about that. So thank you all.
Yes. Our CTE program is measured on 8 federal indicators. All of these indicators are based on concentrator students. So students have to complete a 2nd level CTE course to become a concentrator. As you can see from this graphic, the green indicates where we have made meaningful progress according to the federal definition of these areas in 6 of the 8 areas. 2 areas that we are continuing to work on are our progression in science, which is based on the high school biology scores, and the CTE state assessments and performance-based measurements. In our local application, we have identified strategies and action steps to improve all of these areas. Multiple strategies involve providing supports for subgroups of students. To best facilitate these focused strategies, we've added a special populations coordinator to work with our teachers to meet the needs of these students. So the work that Peter has done this school year with these subgroups of students, we hope we will see pay dividends in our next reporting data. One of our goals in our CTE plan is to increase the credentials that we provide to students. So we've provided you this data here that shows that in pre-pandemic, we had 602 earned credentials by students. Last school year, we had 892, and fall semester this school year already we students have earned 788 credentials. So we are absolutely really providing students those opportunities to graduate from Granville County Public Schools with a diploma in one hand and a credential in the other. Did you know that in the fall of 2020, enrollment was so low in our virtual enterprises programs that I was questioning, should we still continue this? Many of you heard about that question. I don't know if some of you remember, but we decided we're going to grow this program. And as you saw earlier tonight, we have absolutely grown this program to include an international first place winner in Virtual Enterprises International. So I am so excited to highlight that program this evening. Finally, one of the other biggest parts of our federal plan includes career development. One of our goals written in 2022 was to add a career development platform that students could use to figure out what their interests were, to take some personality quizzes. And so we added Major Clarity. I am so happy to report to you tonight that Granville County Public Schools has been recognized as a Platinum Power user with Major Clarity. 90% of our students have activated their accounts, and we have a 75% return rate. Our staff to student ratio is 1 to 19, and our staff usage is 59%. Along with the increase in credentials, part of our plan also includes ensuring that students are exposed to opportunities right here at home. We have developed a program where our CDC, that's Ms. Rodabaugh, works with CTE teachers to identify small groups of students based on their interests, and then takes them on trips to Vance Granville Community College and coordinating businesses. She has done, I can't even count how many of these small group trips she has done this year, but some of those include the BLET program at Vance Granville Community College, nursing, welding, automotive, construction, masonry, and early childhood education. We want our students to know a 4-year college education is a wonderful opportunity, but that might not be for everybody. And there are some tremendous career and technical opportunities right here in our community. This does come to you this evening as a recommendation to approve our fiscal year 2024 federal CTE local application. Do you have any questions?
I have one, Ms. Salisbury.
Yes,
Explain
ma'am.
to me or highlight what is Major Clarity. Tell me more about that.
Major Clarity is a career development platform for every 6th through 12th grade student in Granville County has access to it. Students start by taking a personality quiz and a learning styles quiz. And together with those two quizzes, it produces for them their top career interests. And they can then go into each one of those, and it gives them data on what kind of education they need, what the salary would be for that type job based right here on our zip code, right here in North Carolina, what the job opportunities are, whether they're high or low. It is gives students an opportunity to build a resume, earn micro-credentials. It is a platform that students can use over and over and over again. And then they can also have, one reason we chose this community, this company, is that students have lifetime rights to their data in this program.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, so what were some of the CTE internships that were offered for the summer? Do you have any idea?
With the Grow Your Own Granville County Schools program?
Well, that was, it was in the presentation that Ms. Whitaker gave, but I was thinking that would be,
Yes.
you would be able to answer.
Yes,
too. Okay.
absolutely. So we are working with our operations department, and we have internships with the maintenance department, with our bus garage, with technology, food nutrition, and in our reading camp, so those early childhood opportunities for young people to work with kids. So we're really, really excited about that. I have a whole stack of applications on my desk, and I hope that we will be able to hire every one of those students.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Give both students an opportunity to work, and maybe us the opportunity to find some future employees.
Sounds good.
I had and I didn't even I left this out of my board comments, but I actually spent some time with Ms. Cooper at the Ag Day at the Granville Cooperative Extension, where all of our horticulture students were So that was really fun, and got to tour some of their grounds and their greenhouses and stuff. So that was, you guys are super busy. Y'all always have something going on.
We are very busy.
But so I appreciate that, and you guys are doing an awesome job. I do have one concern though. It seems like communication is getting lost somewhere, and I'm not really sure where the breakup is, because like I see things that you guys are doing, but then I come here and I hear about like a multitude of other things that is not making it home to parents.
Okay.
And so like that's a little concerning to me. And I'm not saying, you know, that that's you guys, because obviously you're very organized. So I'm not really sure where the breakdown is in communication, but a lot of the information about what you guys are doing is not making it home to parents, and I really want it to, because I want all of our students to have the opportunity to participate in things. And so when I hear that there were field trips for welding and automotive and all of that stuff that I didn't know anything about, and my son, who actually was in an automotive class, didn't know anything about, it's like I want all of them to have all of the opportunities. So that's all. It's just I want to make that point. Thank you.
Yeah.
But thank you for everything that you guys are doing. Y'all are awesome.
Thank you.
This comes as an action item. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the application.
A motion. And do we have a second?
Second.
Sanderson, second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. You do an awesome job.
Thank you, everyone, and we agree. A fantastic team. Thank you.
Our next presentation is 906, Student Services.
Dr. Winborn, is that you and Dr. Norfleet?
Yes, ma'am. It's Dr. Norfleet. I just wanted to give a brief introduction to
Sure.
this. During COVID, we started receiving some funds which we could use to survey our students about their well-being and emotional health. And over the past 2 years, we have used those funds to contract with a company that provided a platform and a survey instrument that we could administer. And so we recently brought this information to the Board of Education Academic Committee and talked about this, and they provided a lot of really good guidance on how this survey should be administered. We are very cognizant and aware that parents have concerns about what we are surveying and asking their children in our schools. And so this effort that Dr. Norfleet and her team has been heading up is something that we're really appreciative of the board's input on, and we want to make sure that we are moving lockstep with what you would like us to do. So I just wanted to preface the presentation tonight with those comments and turn it over to Dr. Norfleet.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair Williams, board members, Dr. McLean, and staff.
Good evening.
I want to give you a quick overview of the survey results that we, as Dr. Winborn mentioned, that we've shared with the subcommittee, academic subcommittee. But before I begin, I want to give a special thank you to Ms. Lisa Tusa for actually collaborating with Panorama Education to prepare the district's electronic platform for implementation. And I'd also like to give a special thank you to our school counselors for actually coordinating the site implementation.
Wonderful.
In addition to Dr. Winborn's comments about the funding that we've received to kind of help us monitor the wellness of our students, the implementation of this electronic survey also supports North Carolina Session Law 2020T, which gives us a requirement for K-12 education to implement school-based mental health plans. So the implementation of this survey supports that state mandate. As you can see from the slide, we actually implemented or had the window of implementation for our wellness survey March 13th through the 25th, and students grades 3 through 12th were given the survey. We had a district completion rate of 78%. with the survey actually possessing 33 questions. So the overall purpose of the survey was to measure student perceptions of teaching and learning. It strives to elevate student voice on school climate, learning, positive student-teacher relationships, and belonging. Next slide, please. Here are the 5 trend areas that the survey captures. I won't read each one of them for you, but these are the areas that we look at when we're monitoring wellness in our students. If you look at self-management, behavior, I wanted to bring special attention to that because we've had some previous presenters that have shared information in regards to programming that we have in place to support student behavior. So I think when we look at our district outcome with 65% of our students feeling like they're able to, this is just one of the questions in that area of self-management for behavior. How often were you able to keep your temper under control? As well as social awareness, how well did you get along with other students who are different from you? So some of the programs that we have, in addition to the work that our school counselors are doing, are supporting the overall wellness of our students. Next slide, please. We wanted to acknowledge our celebrations. 6 out of 17 sites had over 95 completion, with one site having 100% completion. I'd like to add a tad bit there. When we look at our sites that did not have a full 100%, in addition to that one site, I want us to take into consideration that some of our sites, with the implementation of this being an electronic platform, we do have sites where we have students who are nonverbal. And so for some of our nonverbal students, they were not able to complete this, which would impact why we didn't have more sites that had 100% completion. 62 of our students opted out of the survey. As Dr. Winborn spoke, we did have feedback from the academic subcommittee in regards to making sure that parents were aware that this was an opt-in survey. And so with the wonderful work, again, of Lisa Tusa and making sure that we had identified those students that were opted out and kind of double-checked behind it, we can honestly say that we had no mistaken administrations of those 62 students that were opted out. Next slide, please. So when we look at our next steps for our site work, school counselors have been charged to share these results with their school leadership team as soon as possible and use that to plan school-wide 23-24 climate needs for their sites. They've been asked to identify students with immediate needs and stressors and work independently with those students through individual sessions, small groups, and then as well as using this information to implement updating program needs in the area of student services during our upcoming 23-24 academic year. Are there any questions?
So I just wanted to clarify, whenever you say the results shared with school leadership, you're talking about like, so they can go in and look at each individual child's profile and not just, they're not just getting like the percentage of the overall student body kind of situation?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So I like that you've already thought ahead, like you've looked at the results and you've already kind of thought ahead to like what the next steps are and interpreted those results and come up with a plan to how to address those concerns. And one of the things that's so sad to me is on slide 2 where it says how confident that you can learn all the topics taught in your class. And only about 50% of our kids believe in their ability to do that.
So that's, again, when we've looked at and analyzed the data that we have, we know that those are important areas that we need to address, not just in the academic setting of the classroom, but the social emotional support of students and really striving to, build self-efficacy in students. So that is very important to us. Hence, again, why, we really take this survey seriously.
Right. Thank you.
So then I guess my question is on top of kind of what Ms. Hayes brought up, like, so if you have a child that is not feeling confident in their ability, how do you approach that with them without making them feel even like embarrassed or?
So I think our school counselors and at all levels do a great job of kind of reading their students, in regards to their ability and letting them know that, hey, we all have those days where we may not feel confident, we may not believe that we can, and just kind of reassuring students that, those feelings are okay and that they're there to support and help them walk through. And the main thing about this survey, too, is making sure that we're having students connect with a trusted adult. So when they do have those concerns or those thoughts of self-doubt or what have you, they can also confide in those trusted adults in the building.
Do we have any idea of how these answers broke down across our grade spans? I'll be interested to see the differences between answers between some of our younger students and our high school students.
Absolutely. They're pretty much the same questions. The wordings of them are a little different. And when we looked at implementation, we took that into consideration as far as the level in which they were receiving a test. When we look at our lower levels, the great thing is through our classroom lessons with some of our counselors, those we were concerned a little bit about vocabulary, how much students were understanding. So we would have prior lessons, talking about vocabulary words. What does this mean? How do we note it? That sort of thing. And so in those settings, most of the time on the elementary level, they were large group survey implementation. On our middle and high school, we had a combination of large group as well as smaller individual, depending on those students and the contact. Most of our high schools, we kind of combined it with our registration cycle. We had one site that we knew that they had a great turnout in regards to registering students for the upcoming academic year. And at that same site, when the students were registering for their classes for next year, they were also at that point doing the individual implementation of the survey. So that gave an opportunity for a dialogue if there was not quite understanding of how, what this question is asking me, so that we could give, immediate feedback and response at that time. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea, or were you able to break down on our EC kids how they fared with this survey as opposed to other students?
We are still kind of analyzing it when we look at our specific subgroups. Our main task was to look at it by school and to kind of give them some direction, but that is some of the advice that we're giving our schools when they're with their leadership teams to look more specifically at those subgroups.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would just like to say that I'm highly impressed with your process and everything. The questions that you just answered were the ones just raised there, and what you're doing, knowing today's environment, that what's going on throughout, not just the state, but the country with the mental, and what we have here with your program is tremendous. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a team effort all the way around, but thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is 907, HR recruitment and retention updates.
Thank you. Mr. Perry will be joining us for this piece. This has certainly been great, and Ms. Curran is going to join for this. This has been a dynamo team this year in this area of recruitment and retention. They've been all over the place, I must say, and thank you for your efforts before you even get going here. I wish I could say where there used to be silver bullets and direct answers for how to do both of these, there is no such thing anymore, as I sit in superintendent and national and state meetings. So we're interested in this update, but I want to start by saying thank you in advance to both of you.
Well, good evening, board members. Tonight we want to provide some information on our department's efforts for recruitment and retention for the upcoming school year. Want to also recognize Angela Cogdell, who's not here with us this evening. She also serves as our recruiter and provided some of the information that you'll see on the slides today. Ms. Kern and I will just kind of go through this pretty quickly and allow for any questions that you may have. Always want to start with knowing that a quality teacher is the most important thing that's needed in that classroom.
Yes.
We have to have a quality teacher to provide our students with the best quality education. And we prefer to have one who's live inside of that classroom, face to face, each and every day. Right. But we know that shortage exists, not just here in Granville County, but across this state and across this great nation. So what are we doing to try to mitigate those shortages here in the district? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Over the course of this year and last year, you guys have been so gracious to approve these incentive packages that have been used to recruit our teachers and to retain individuals as well. So that's been a blessing to our folks here in Granville County. We also have our neighbors who are, I will say, copying some of our tasks or incentive packages to recruit and lure as well. So we thank you for that again. But also we are competing with our neighbors. They're facing the same consequences as far as with this shortage as well. So we all are kind of competing against each other for the same quality teachers inside of that classroom. So next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about our current recruitment and retention efforts, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Kern, who will talk about the current efforts that we have in place.
So we just kind of wanted to remind you all where we've been in this process. We started out with hiring incentives of $3,000, $2,500, and $2,000 for our teachers in high needs areas. Then we added Phoenix Academy's additional $3,500. We increased our wages for our substitutes, our bus drivers, our classified staff members. And then in January, that first January of 2022, we gave some retention incentives to our staff members, and then again in that March of 22 as retention incentives for our staff members, and those were very helpful and well appreciated. Next slide, please. Just do it. And we have been able to continue those efforts. I will say both Mr. Perry and I have been to many recruiting events, and we often have other counties come to us and go, how are y'all doing that $10,000? Because they want to steal it, because we have a big sign that says in red, $10,000. And that is something that a lot of people come to our table to figure out and to see both other counties and prospective candidates. Was actually at ODU, and I had more people stop at my table than anybody else on my row. And they all wanted to stay in Virginia, but they were just like, wow, really? In North Carolina you can do that? It's like, yeah, come on down. We'll take it. And so that's been really helpful. The 12% teacher supplement has also been something that a lot of people have talked to me about as I'm onboarding new hires, and it has been well received by them. So they have appreciated that. And then, of course, the Phoenix Academy hire incentive has still been very helpful for our classified staff members who have started over there this year. Our current staff members that we have, some of them have actually stepped up and taken EC positions with us because of that bonus. And so having that bonus kind of helped them make that decision. It has been wonderful for our departments that are still struggling with EC, because that is an area where we are struggling right now. But that's kind of where we are. And of course, the longevity bonuses were very well received in February, and half of those went to new hires that had 0 to 5 years of experience with us. So that was very much appreciated by them when they could have those incentives. So I give you a little bit more information here. We have had 9 people qualify for the $10,000 bonus since it started. And being that that's a pretty narrow window, that's actually a really good number. In January, we had, 23 people join us in January, and a large number of them joined because of that bonus, even though they didn't qualify for it. They heard about it and they thought that was really awesome. So that was very helpful. We have had 20 fewer resignations this year than we did at this point last year. So we're really excited about that. And 103 new hires qualified for the bonuses. We also have had 16 qualify for the referral bonus. So that's been really helpful. A lot of people try to give it to their principal, and we have to tell them they can't. But it's been also very beneficial for us.
I would say our employees are often reminding me when I go into schools about that $250, about when will they get paid, and can I get $250 for this and $250 for that. So if you encourage someone to come and apply, and they get hired in the district, they work 60 days, you can get $250. So it's a quick reminder.
And we have had people split split it too. We don't do that, but they tell us all the time, okay, so so-and-so's gonna get this, and then we're gonna split it, so it has been something they've thought about.
So some information provided by Ms. Cogdell. Ms. Cogdell has been on the road for probably the last 4 months. I can't even imagine how many miles she's racked up between car drives across the eastern seaboard and airplane miles. We've attended approximately 13 fairs at 10 universities across the country, in the state. We've also spoke with the North Carolina Teaching Fellows Program. They actually came in a couple weeks ago and met over at Butler Stem Elementary School. So that's the way we start introducing folks to Granville County Public Schools, by inviting them in. So when they come in and they see the great things that are happening in our schools and under the leadership of our principals, that gives them an idea about how this district operates and makes it a place that, maybe I may be interested in coming here. At that time, a lot of them were interested in some other places, but at least we planted the seed about what's going on here in Granville. We also had participation at the UNC Charlotte ASCD, which is a big Educator 101 with all the students who are in the teacher ed program at UNC Charlotte. We had our own local job fair. We wish for a better turnout and better weather that day. I will say there was a lot of things going on that day, and the weather wasn't cooperative. But we did make some connections with some individuals, and some of our principals did have some interviews after that fair. We also participated at the local Vance Granville Community Resource Fair, and some of the pictures you see there are from some of the fairs out of state and with the Community Resource Fair held recently. Angela and some of us have all attended job fairs out not only in state but out of state. We've been to 59 universities in 9 different states. We've set up booths. We get folks to come over and talk to us. We see a lot of other neighboring districts on the road as well. But also what we've noticed when we were in Buffalo a couple weeks ago, that there were other countries present at these job fairs. Not just folks who are in New York or North Carolina or Virginia. They were far out as Texas, Alaska, coming to Buffalo because this is a big teaching state where you can recruit a lot of individuals from these states. So this gentleman from Ireland was at 2 of the fairs we attended on this 3-day recruitment trip. So folks are competing for teachers here in the United States as well, not just here, but everywhere. All right, our next slide. Additional recruitment efforts. Of course, we have student teachers. We love to have student teachers come into our classrooms. This year, correct me if I'm wrong, we offered 3 early contracts, or 3 or 4 early contracts this year with some student teachers. Got them locked in for December. So in January, they started in those classrooms. So they were actually Grow Your Own. So we are very proud of those teacher assistants. So we have that TA to Teacher program that we collaborate with colleges and universities, particularly Chowan, East Carolina, and some other colleges and universities in North Carolina, and it's great. So if our own can go in, we know they're going to stay with us. We hope they'll stay with us even longer and retire with us. But when you can tap into your own folks, that's a great thing. So we have a lot of great folks working in this district. Social media has been big. We do a lot of advertisement on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you'll see a lot of our LinkedIn postings from places that we go to get folks to kind of take a look at, hey, take a look at Granville. Because we're not just recruiting for a teaching position, you're recruiting for a community. Because folks want to feel at home when they come and work in a community like this. Such a great place, great folks, and we recruit on that knowledge of the background here in this community. So it's important that we branch out about who we recruit and who we bring here, other folks from rural areas, because some city folks may not adjust well to being in the country. So we try to target folks based on that knowledge. As far as retention, of course, we continue to work with National Board Certification. We have a grant this year that we actually are able to reimburse folks for participating in the National Board process, which is pretty pricey. It's about $2,000. So they're actually able to get reimbursed in that process. We do offer tuition reimbursement for our folks who are going to school to become teachers and administrators, so that's important as well. And also, we do have our mentoring program here in the district. So just a couple of snapshots here of some teaching fellows, and I think if you look really closely, you see Dr. McLean and Angela in that middle picture over at NC State speaking to those students back in the fall. Yeah. So we're always hiring, we're always recruiting, we're always trying to make a connection with individuals about the great things that are growing here in Granville. Do you have any questions? I do want to add, we are continuously recruiting internationally. We have made about 21 different recommendations for some international faculty as well. We are working on the H-1B process, so we had 2 candidates, but 1 is actually going through that process right now, and we're actually looking at some other options to bring some other folks in. So we're trying to get those vacancy numbers down so the start of the school year will look significantly better than it did this year.
Mr. Perry, speaking of this year, of our shortage, how are we in the school year off with our shortage of teachers currently? Are we still short of teachers?
Yes. Yes.
So we're ending on shortage?
Yes. But the glowing part of that is as we start making placements for next year, that number is already lower.
Okay.
So it looks better for next year right now. To our staff members that are out there, I hope that you're not sending any resignations between now and next year.
I heard you say that some teachers, because of the bonus, had switched over or were going to switch over to EC. How is the EC landscape looking now for the coming year?
It is actually much better for the coming year than it was this year. We now have schools that had not had any EC teachers for the entire year that will be fully staffed next year. Tar River is an example. They will be fully staffed next year. West Oxford has been struggling this year with EC. They are fully staffed for next year. Hawley is fully staffed for next year. They only had 1 EC teacher all year this year. So it is making a big difference. Some of those are teachers, a number of those actually are teachers who are currently with us who are making the transition to EC for us, and they're all stellar teachers. So we're
That's
recruiting
wonderful.
stellar teachers for EC. It's still an area of concern. We still have about 14 openings, but it is much better than we were last year.
That sounds good. Sounds promising.
Are they certified? Are they, you say switching over? They're certified EC?
All of them are certified except for 2, and the 2 that are not certified actually are already taking the test in the next month so that they
Okay.
can be certified before they start.
So I have to say thank you, board members, for trusting the process to invest that type of thinking in what other people were doing around the state just to help us be competitive. And it took a moment for it to kind of take root, but it is taking root. We're not saying we're there, but we're saying we planted some seeds this year that we really hope will pay off next school year. And thank you to our teachers who are listening. I mean, you just, we can't say thank you enough. Again, there is no silver bullet anymore. And as you heard, everyone's competing for the same people here. Yeah. So you're having to, do something. And the money that was used, I can't say this enough, a lot of those dollars will sunset in 2024. So we are going to have to get a bit more creative once again with now what. So the whole time, let's not forget, the thinking was to invest in our people while we could, because we were all well aware that luxury was not going to be around. It was not something that was going to sustain over time. Mm-hmm. So we made that decision to do that while we could, fully knowing that was not going to be a way of life for very long. So we are very pleased we were able to do something like that for our people while we could. But it's 2023. And in September of 2024, a lot of that funding will sunset. And we're going to have to think of something else. So I am extremely grateful the board, you allowed us to do that. And I'm extremely happy for those who were able to benefit. But we are going to have to turn the page and think of something else next year. I just don't want to forget that. I don't want anyone to think that, oh, no one told me. I have to say that tonight. I just have to say it. But back to HR, thank you all. Thank you so very much. You and our finance department have worked diligently, to get it right. Because I know people call every day, hey, what about? and I appreciate all of the hard work our entire district does. And just thank you. So this is your update. Any other questions?
Thank you again.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Our next item up is 908, update for Creedmoor Elementary School closure and Holly Middle School relocation. And after this item, I think we'll have been here about a little over 2.5 hours, so we'll just take us a break for about 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And then return. Okay, we'll go ahead with the update.
All right, executive team, thank you so very much for your work on this. Board members, at our last work session, we brought you quite a few updates. We met the gentleman who will be overseeing this project, working with our team. If we'll move to the next slide, the team has been working quite a bit on just about everything. So I think one of the big things that will be happening with Mr. Graham. I saw you and Dr. Chisnell communicating again tonight, because one of the most exciting things that will be happening is Dr. Chisnell is going to be getting a team over to Creedmoor to take a look at that building and to offer some thoughts about how to make this really exciting in the coming weeks and months before that August 1 date. You want to talk with us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Dr. Chisnell had wanted to have an interdisciplinary team of parents, students, and staff that could weigh in on some of the decisions that he was going to make to give us so that we can go. We have several things that we're ready to go, but we need his sort of final say-so. So tomorrow at 6:30, we're touring Creedmoor. He has 35 folks that'll be accompanying us. And then he has set up, so there will be Q&A, throughout the tour, but he's set up a survey as well, so that they can respond to him with specific information that will help Mr. Barath know who he needs to call for which bathrooms need to be revisited, et cetera, things like that. So we're really happy about that we can have that kind of buy-in from his folks, and they're excited. So I can speak more about that later, yeah.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's important. Another thing that is important, we talked with the Creedmoor staff initially about this, and went over Friday to speak with our principal, and we'll get more from her in the coming days. We could not do it on Friday, but we'll get with her. It's important to properly sunset the school that is closing, and we will all be involved in that. We don't want that to go undone well. And so it's going to be befitting that we properly sunset the symbol of the cardinal and properly sunset the red and white and some of those major projects that school did. And so we mentioned some of those things to the staff, and so we will get with Principal McKnight on some of the bigger events they will have, and we will go over and do some of those with them. So we were not able to get together on Friday, and so I will be getting some of that to you all when we do, and we will make that a part of the official transition, because you just don't want that moment to go by or just close the school. You don't want that to happen. That's a big deal. Just as much as bringing a school in, you want to properly close a school. So we will get that to you as well. So let's go on to the next slide and have the team to go through this presentation.
You go to the next slide. We've accomplished this. Thank you. So in addition to the tour tomorrow, that's okay. We've done a traffic study. We had a meeting last week. That meeting included the representatives from DOT as well as their engineers, and it included members of the Creedmoor city staff, commissioners. So there were some questions and concerns in the community about, how is this going to impact traffic and their community. So I think we were able to address some of those concerns and assure them that, we do have a plan and that we're listening to them and we're taking actions to be prepared. To that end, we have a meeting this Wednesday with DOT and the engineers to look at, to try to narrow down specific plans that we have for the stacking on that campus. Additionally, Mr. Barath is contacting vendors for painting, plumbing, and actually the moving, and so we have all of this queued up with, so he can, take bids from different vendors. There are people who, we have in mind, but we're going to go through the process, as well as the marquee. And I want to say that he developed a very comprehensive standard operating process for the move itself, and he shared it with me, and then his question was, do you think this would be reassuring and helpful to the staff, or would this be upsetting to the staff? And both principals were very quick to say this would be very reassuring. And I do know, thanks to the efforts of HR, when they met with the folks, Creedmoor staff has an idea where they're going to go. The very next thing they want to know is, okay, now what's the process? How are we going to get, our stuff there? So that he has that all laid out, very detailed, and that will be shared with the staff. So that's what we have going on in operations as we look forward. That's for the, our narrow gap of like last week and this coming week. So we're working on that. Next slide.
So I think this is a short but sweet comment regarding this transition. As of April 20th, a majority of the staff over at Creedmoor Elementary School of the Arts will know where they're going next school year. Ms. Kern met individually with those staff members, and many of them were able to get their first choice locations for placement next year, which is breathing a sigh of relief for many folks who, as they were getting a little anxious about knowing their placements for next year. So we were able to do that April 20th. We still have a couple of positions that we still have to make some assignments. For example, pre-K, because of conditions and buildings and things of that nature, making sure with a compliant classroom, making sure that we notify those last individuals as quickly as possible. But as of April 20th, majority of that staff knows their placements for next year. And many of them were elated to find out. Good job.
Again, for the finance part of the update, just an update on our use of fund balance for the relocation remodeling costs. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. We have, again, used school operations specialist. That actual cost was $4,500, and we now have a purchase order in for Mr. Barath for the project management, and that cost is $15,000. So that's $19,500 of the expected $514,000 for this expense. Thank you.
All right, for academic updates, we've got a school-based committee that is convening this week to discuss the individual student transition plans that I've shared with you earlier. In addition to the ones that we are creating for the students that are leaving Creedmoor and going to either Mount Energy or Butner STEM Elementary School, we are also moving forward on the transition plans for those students who've been attending Butner STEM Elementary and Mount Energy as choice students and will be returning either to their base school or doing round 2 of choice. So we're going to do a plan for those students as well, because some of those, the only school they know is the choice school at which they've been attending. I'll also just share some updates regarding choice. Ms. Hunt and myself and the data managers, we've finalized the letters that will be shared with these families, and those will be going out starting this week. We're going to be mailing them hard copy and emailing them. And it's going to have instructions about what schools they're eligible to reapply for during round 2 of choice. And we've been fielding lots of phone calls. I understand, I'm sure that you guys have been getting them as well, and emails. And we're just trying to work through these on a case-by-case basis. I would like to note that students that have IEPs with certain types of disabilities, those are being considered on a case-by-case basis as well, depending on the services that we have available at each of our campuses. So again, anytime there's a question about the special needs of a child, we're looking at those cases one at a time. And then we're still just continuing to kind of, create a checklist for all of the materials and supplies and curriculum stuff that needs to travel to our other schools. And we'll be ready for that and work closely with Mr. Graham.
Well, I had a question. I probably should ask Jamal about, Mr. Perry, about this. How are we going to decide on the admins? I know we got 2 admins at Hawley and at Creedmoor. Will they have to reapply, interview for the positions as principals or APs for those schools?
No, we are working with Dr. McLean to make those final placements and with the senior staff on where those individuals based on open assignments at the time.
Okay.
So those will probably be like the last placements that we make.
Okay. Good.
Question for Dr. Winborn. Yeah, I heard your statements there with regards to working on a case-by-case basis with some of the, things that is coming up, IEP, EC, and all of that. And of course, yes, there were emails coming in, and we had someone to speak here this evening with regards to that. If in fact you all do start, working this, would you have to come back, I'm just wondering, to us based on, what we initially talked about before or what we laid out? And when you all actually do this reviewing and looking at those case-by-case basis, possibility of further discussions, just wondering.
No, ma'am, I do not plan on doing anything that would be contrary to what you have already directed us to do. Maybe I need to clarify more with regard to students that have an IEP that are in our Exceptional Children's Program. If they're in a self-contained class or receive some type of special service that is only available at a certain school, then we will have to assign those students to that school. We currently serve many of our EC students outside of their base school at another a school, but it's not through our choice program. It's through our EC department service delivery. And so thank you for that and allow me to clarify that a little bit more. That's what I'm speaking to.
Okay, so that is not a part of the choice.
Right, it wouldn't, I would not entertain allowing someone to stay just because they wanted to or they felt that they preferred to stay that. It would be because of the program services that we offer through our EC department and where they are located. If that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
And that would include if they need transportation, if their program requires transportation to the school, that will also be provided as well.
Yes, ma'am. We provide transportation to all of our EC students when they are placed at a site according to their needs, even if it's outside of their attendance zone.
Any other questions, comments? I know it's a huge undertaking, and we appreciate all the hard work you're putting in, folks. Let's take a 10-minute break.
Thank you all so very much.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is 909, GCPS Policy Committee. The Policy Committee met on April 24th, and we reviewed several policies. We did pull, I believe, a couple of them for further review at our next policy meeting. So the ones that you see listed here are a first read. And if you've had a chance to read through them, I assume. Anybody have any questions about any of the policies or comments? Believe it or not, we spent quite a bit of time on those. It kind of thoroughly went through them. Does anyone want to make a motion on this to go to a second read, or do you want to waive the first read and adopt them?
And board members, if you have any questions about the revisions that have been done, just let me know. All of these have been through the policy committee.
I make a motion we approve the first read.
Okay, it's been first and second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
No opposed, so the motion carries. The policies are adopted. And I believe we have another policy committee meeting coming up later this month, so we'll start back up. The next item in section is one of our favorites also, finance, number 10.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Internet safety.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, board members, we pulled out this policy separately because it is required by our federal E-rate funding to have the policy, which we already do, but also to give public notice if it's going to be revised. And so we just wanted to highlight for the public on the agenda that this policy in particular was being revised and invite in case anyone wanted to provide comment. We did not receive any comments.
So we would adopt this on the first read as well.
This is
if we
also
want
here
to.
for first read,
Okay,
yes. And
that's
the
fine.
update is just provided by the School Board Association and relates to obliging students or employees to report to someone if they find that the web filters, content filters are not working.
Any comments or questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve as presented.
On first
Second.
read? Is this on first read?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion. It's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go to our favorite finance person. Item 1001.
Good evening, board members. We'll start off tonight with our budget amendments, and these are, we have 3 budget amendments this evening. The first is for our state fund, and this is to add additional state funding for our summer reading camp, that allocation for this coming summer's reading camp. And that allocation is $97,674. And we've also had to adjust the restart budget a little bit because they wanted to take care of some athletic equipment within that funding source. Our next budget amendment is our local budget. And there is no change, no increase or decrease to the total budget. It is really just focused on adjusting the budget to meet school needs and departmental needs. This is allocating, it's just adjusting the budget to cover the cost of some of our technology and some of our arts programs. And then for the other restricted fund, or Fund 8, this is to allocate additional recycling revenue of $2,145, and also to adjust the budget for additional principal mentorship expense. So we're just adding to the budget of $2,145 with a total budget of $6,723,014. Any questions about the budget amendments?
Motion to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the budget amendments as presented, and second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
There were no opposition, so the budget amendments pass.
Our next area is the financial update, and we're first going to take a look at your board travel. Notice that the total expense to date for board travel is $6,017.84, leaving you with a remaining balance of $299.16. I just want to remind you that that does include the $1,500 video subscription for the School Board Association. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we look to see whether or not that's a valuable tool for next year. But you do see a remaining balance there. Any questions about board travel?
Well, we've got just a short amount of time to get to the end of the year, but if we run behind, we just do a budget amendment and find some other funds?
Yes, yeah, you have other areas in your budget that we would look.
Okay, so we won't have a problem with that.
You should
Okay.
not, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next item is the review of COVID funds. Note that this is through March 31st as well. In that front cover page, just a reminder that at this point, with our remaining funds that we are using, we have the remaining funds of $10,148,272. Some of that does expire in September of this year. However, most of that should be used for the summer programs. And note, if you look on close to that, I think it's the second to the last page, just an update on the top expenditure categories. Salary and benefits continue to be in the 77% range, and our next area of supplies and materials is 17.2%. Any questions about those COVID funds? Okay. The next item we have is the budget review. This is just our monthly look at our budget. I do apologize. I know those numbers are quite small. Again, this is a budget review through March 31st. And if that top section is our local budget, notice now at the end of March, we have completed approximately 75% of the fiscal year. So keep that in mind. That's our comparison. Our local budget is sitting at right about 71%, which is where I want it to be right now because we've got those supplements right at the end of the year. So note that personnel and benefits lines are closer to 62%, which is in line with where I would want them to be. Our state budget, we are right at 74%, so we are right on target with our state budget. Our other budgets are a little more flexible and have carryover associated with them, but you can get a sense of where our spending is. This is not where I wanted to bring that up. Do you have any questions about this? Okay. So this is, again, through March 31st. And all of that is just, as it is every month, just informational for you all. The next item we have is it's going to be a monthly budget update for our upcoming budget, the 23-24 school year. I want to start with a celebration, and we're going to start this conversation. We're celebrating the arts, right? We had a student come to us, I believe it was at our last board meeting, with the J.F. Webb band uniform recommendations, the 20-year-old band uniforms. And right around that time, I was, doing my budget review, as I do, and looking at our capital outlay funds for equipment. And because our technology team has been so fantastic about getting grants for all of this technology in the district, they have been able to kind of stockpile a little bit of funds for technology equipment that they haven't needed that funding. So what we have decided with their support is to reallocate that equipment funding to provide band uniforms for all 3 of the high schools, as well as do some auditorium upgrades for South Granville, the Northern Granville, and some JF Webb upgrades for their sound.
That's great.
Yes,
Good.
we're very excited about that. They are too. You won't necessarily see that come out of the, but you'll see the encumbrance on that budget sheet, but you won't see the purchase because it takes a while to get these band uniforms and this work done. So we're hoping the equipment will, the uniforms will be in by August, but we know how the supply chain is right now, so we're doing the best we can to do that.
But we are excited that our band programs at all 3 schools will be able to benefit from this. You know, this is something, as you heard one school talk about, it's been years. Well, it's been years at South Granville as well. And although some will say, well, Granville Central just got uniforms, well, they had some roofing issues several years back, and their uniforms were damaged in that roofing matter that took place. And so while we are taking care of not just one school, we're taking care of all 3 schools. Okay, and that sort of gets us on this cycle. My hope is that we're getting on a cycle to remember this year, because I hope it isn't 20 or 30 years from now. I hope we get on a cycle to keep this replenished, to keep children excited and motivated about marching band. And then when you see the upgrades over here with what can be done, when you have an appropriate stage with appropriate lighting on the stage and appropriate curtains and such, and appropriate sound for productions and things of that nature. I'm sorry, old theater buff here. You know, you've got to have those things for kiddos in those programs. And we use, as a district, all of those auditoriums on a regular basis. So these are district upgrades, not just, you know, you don't want to look at this as, oh, those schools. It's bigger than that. These are the auditoriums used by the district. So I'm just very pleased. I want to thank our finance director here once again, along with our technology department, for doing such a good job with grants and for partnering with us on this to get funding where it is most needed at this time for children.
I mean, yeah, you all know this is like huge for me. So, and one of the things that I think that kind of goes, that people don't necessarily realize, especially with these auditorium upgrades with the sound and the technology and that sort of thing, is like oftentimes when high schools will put on these productions, the students are the ones that are doing the sound and the lighting and all of that kind of stuff. So they're getting to work with like industry standards and use that knowledge that they're getting in high school to use then when they go to college, or if they decide to do that as a career. So this is in some ways actually a part of like a CTE course as well.
That's right.
So it's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're really excited about this opportunity. You know, it's just high time. Frankly, you get to a place where it's high time to just upgrade several things. And that's what you're doing at this point. We're upgrading. It's just time to do so. So I'm really excited about this. But like you said, this one is not turnkey. They can't make all of these uniforms and they can't install all of this stuff overnight. So this one is going to take a minute. Only request is I want an invitation to come see it. That's all I want.
Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, you're going to see some of the slides that you all have seen before, and this is very familiar to the Finance Committee as well. It's just, I'm realizing we just kind of need to put some of these things in our head. This is our look at our ADM over years, and this is the planning ADM was 6,647, which is a reduction, about a 2% reduction. So we would expect that the planning ADM, that our budgets would be affected similarly. If you remember last month, next slide please, There was an $833,000 decrease to our low wealth supplemental funding. DPI has released a correction to those funds, and so we are seeing a $93,000 reduction, which is right around where we would expect as a 2% reduction in our ADM. So we are thrilled that that has been corrected for our district. That eases much tension, to say the least. Next slide, please. Again, this is simply an update with our the current House bill that's out. We're looking at a salary. They are proposing a salary increase of approximately 4.25% per DPI, which is it's more than my prediction. I'm going to get better at this, predicting what the legislature will do. However, per DPI, Senate budget is expected to be released pretty soon, in early May, and they are talking as if there will be a biennial budget in mid-June, which it will be an amazing thing to see, but we will go with that. If that happens, we'll just watch and see when that happens. So just wanted to give you updates on that. With that increase in that salary request, next slide please, the request that we sent to the county, of course, is a little bit short. It's about $130,000 short, which is just one of those things that we'll have to deal with. At this point, we don't know what the county is going to supply anyway, so we are moving forward, budgeting with the fundings that we have at this moment. Okay, next slide, please. And also, Senate Bill 670, I believe we touched on this in the small group meetings that we had, and then in the Finance Committee. So if you would like you to watch Senate Bill 670, and this is creating a totally new student funding model for school districts. And with that red circle is the telling part of this bill. It's repealing all existing school funding allotments and changing the school funding model to a weighted school funding model. So all those times that I've said, remember, we have in our state allotments, we have positions, we have dollars, and then we have other things that are taken care of. This completely wipes out every allotment that we have our planning allotments now, wipes out everything, and basically allocates, based on our ADM, a base fund, a base amount. We don't know what that amount is yet. And then additional percentage allocations for our special populations. There's some real positive about that. It would give us a lot of flexibility in our state funding, and there's a lot of positive about that. The big question mark is, how does the funding compare? Because when a big change happens like this, there are a lot of pieces that tend to get missed along the way. So there's just some question marks, and we're hoping to get some more information about the actual base allotments before we really know if this would be a positive or a negative thing for us. So just wanted to put that on your radar moving forward. Next slide, please. This is, again, just an update on our use of fund balance. There were some questions during small groups. Several people asked me, so what is the anticipated fund balance as of June 2023, at the end of this year? And I just didn't have that on there, so I wanted to update that for you guys. At the end of this fiscal year, assuming we use all of that fund balance, we would be at 8.4% at the end of this school year. Next slide, please. Right now, we are starting the process of meeting with our departments and determining needs and discussing cuts. We are continuing to meet with the Finance Committee to discuss specific topics, specific concerns that are coming up, question marks that are coming up. So we'll continue that work with the Finance Committee. We are anticipating the county budget in early June, and as I said before, possibly Senate budget in early May and the biennial mid-June. I shared this with the Finance Committee, but I want to share it with you all too. I'd like to set expectations regarding the budget. Even if we have a biennial budget by the state in mid-June, we would still be looking at August timeframe before we had a district budget, simply because we are going to be focused on year-end closeout. And that really has to be our priority right now. Do you all have any questions about the budget?
Okay. I have a question. The difference between what they're proposing in House Bill 670 and what we have now, you have any idea when will you know? Or will you know?
And that's a very good question. We had a meeting with Jennifer Bennett over finance at DPI. She's feeling very good about this process because she shares with us that there is the intent to have a little safety net for districts the first year, potentially 2 years, that if for some reason you don't get the funding at the same level, then there would be a held harmless in that first year. That's not in the bill, so that's a concern. We just want to make sure. We don't know yet. We're hoping to know soon. That's all I can say.
Might need to pressure some folks over there to tell you.
Lots of pressure, yes. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Okay, I think we're at the point in the meeting for a break, but I think what we will do is just take a very short break, maybe long enough for our people to shut us down. And we'll need a motion to go into closed session for the topics that are set forth in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
We'll be back here in about maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll get started. We're back in open session, and we need a motion to approve the personnel report as presented in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next thing we need to do is go over some dates to remember. May 8th through 12th, 2023 Teacher Appreciation Week. May 9th, Evening of Excellence, South Granville High School, formal to semi-formal to formal attire, please. May 15th, Board of Education work session, and this is where I'm going to stop. If we do this way, we would probably still go 4, but we'd need to go 4 to 6:30. Could you tell Dr. McLean a little bit about the lady that can do this session and who she is and what she does and so forth?
Yes. Mary Ann Wolf with the Public School Forum is who you selected. She does a great deal of work with the forum. Some of you may have seen or heard from her in PD sessions with the forum. She was there with the X and Issues. That morning we were there. But this is just one of many things she does. I think, Ms. Glenda, that's when you may have heard her.
She does an Education Matters program.
Oh, that's right, Education Matters.
Sunday morning, I think.
She's been in education for many years.
I've seen her several times on television.
Yeah.
You'll see her late at night. Sometimes it'll run
Administrators usually
a
in
copy,
teachers
and then
on
sometimes it's like
Oh,
Saturday
she have dark
nights at
hair.
7 or 7:30. She's very good.
Best practices.
Is that all that we're going to be doing for the whole?
What we plan to do is maybe for the first 30 minutes, we would have maybe a few business items that come up, and then we'd go into that and possibly would be able to count as some of our CEs.
You should be able to count it as your hours, yeah.
Yep.
So staff would be going home then?
We'll be here. We're going to get our CUs too. Yeah.
One of the things that someone mentioned equity tonight in a comment, and I think that term is quite misunderstood, and how it's used in education may be a little different than how it's used in politics. So I think it might be informative to get a take on how they look at that in the educational framework and see if we can identify any things that we are interested in. When I think of equity, I also think of things like, you know, if I have a basketball court, you should have the basketball court. Not necessarily equal outcomes. Not everybody's going to be a star, but everybody has opportunity. And that's, I think, the direction that would probably take.
I have you scheduled tomorrow.
Right.
You and Mr. Peace tomorrow to meet with her.
And do it by phone.
Yes, ma'am. To do it by phone.
I'm going to do it by phone tomorrow. So we'll talk to her about kind of what we want. We want to look into those issues that would be helpful for us as a board when we make decisions. If anybody has a problem with it, speak up. You can ask questions when the lady comes. But she is really good. I think you'll like her. I've heard her a lot on TV.
Will that session be recorded or be private just for the board members? It will
I'm
not
sorry?
be live streamed, will it?
No, it'll be, I mean, if somebody wants to come and sit and listen to it, I
Okay.
guess they could. But, no, I don't think we need to live stream it particularly. And I don't suspect we'll have anything too much on a business thing. It may be a few things, cleanup things we need. I'll have a couple of things to do that.
That's all.
Okay? All right.
Whatever you like.
Sounds good. We're going to have our regular Board of Education meeting. Wait a minute, I can't even see my, hit the phone right there. Okay, is that June 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I punched it out.
At 6, June 5th at 6.
Okay, our regular meeting at 6, and then we have a 19th of the month work session as well at 4 o'clock. So those are some dates. Now, there are some other dates. You'll recall that we were told earlier tonight that there's a handout.
Yes, ma'am.
Does it have all the graduation dates on there?
It does.
The first one coming up will be the early graduation.
Early college.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
early college graduation, so forth. And I'm sure you'll get some information about that if you don't have your gown.
They graduate in 3 weeks.
That's hard to believe. It's gone by fast this year.
It's gone by.
It really has. Okay. So we are going to ask for a motion to adjourn so that we can go back into closed session for superintendent search items.
So moved.
Second.
Favor? Aye. Right. Motion carries. We're back in closed.